I learned that I disassociated from my childhood. I don't remember a lot of my childhood. And we're at Applebee's, and I get a call from my wife, Steele. Hey, dumbass, got all the police at the house. What the fuck did you do? We realized that one of the little homies from one of the hoods caught a body, and he snitched on us. I'm in the middle of my fucking Adderall addiction, dealing with getting kicked out of the military, trying to assimilate with a marriage and 2 kids, and trying to figure out how to support my family. I didn't come from the gangs, but when I went to prison, I assimilated into the culture, right? I ran paisa because I didn't know. Like, I showed up to the 3000s. Where you from? I'm Mexican. All right, you're paisas. Go over there. Like, have a nice day. But I really assimilated into that culture and really got those belief systems of like, we don't call the cops. It's just crazy. Like, you guys are really fucking making me go in, right? I've never really talked about this in public, and my wife's gonna be like, fuck, you really went vulnerable.
Yo, welcome back to Reentry Network Podcast. It's your boy Yak.
It's your boy T.
We got our boy Manny in the building, man. Thank you so much for being here, bro. Hey, we were chatting already right off the bat. I know T got to chat a little bit more with you more. But even just hearing some of your story already right off the bat, it's touching. I think what's nuts too, there's so much that we can kind of relate to on all kinds of backgrounds as far as everybody across the board, especially in this room. I want to get into where you grew up and kind of what that background was like as well. I mean, I kind of heard it a little bit already, but I want the audience to know. But two, I want to talk about why you reached out, because you reached out to us to want to share your story, right? I guess, what did you see that empowered you to be like, yo, I want to be on that podcast and tell my story?
Yeah, so where I grew up a little bit in like San Diego, National City, all the way up until I was about 11. And then my mom and my dad had a really disruptive like relationship, right? My dad used to beat the shit out of her. My mom had some really serious mental health issues. And she took us, I'll never forget the day, she took us to Tucson, Arizona, got on a Greyhound. Like, we literally like lived on 4250 Ocean View Boulevard. I'll never forget that address. The back of our house was this big ass hill. And I remember as a little kid, my mom was tired of getting beat. So she climbed that hill, and there was a bus stop right above the hill. Like, there was a little road and there's a cemetery there. We got on the bus and she just took us to the Greyhound, and we left to Tucson, Arizona, where her sister lived. That was her way of escaping from my dad. And I'll never forget showing up to Tucson like at 4 a.m, and it was like 28 degrees in like some shorts. I'm coming from California, right? Like a little shirt and some shorts. I was freezing my ass off. And we ended up living in Tucson the rest of like till I left to the military. Really, like, my parents got back together a couple of years later. Really lived like a very impoverished life in Tucson in some apartments. My dad was a mechanic. He was able to provide, and we kind of had like the traditional like Mexican household, but just violence. And my dad would work, come home, and drink and beat my mom. My mom was schizophrenic and had depression, so she always was in and out of mental health hospitals. As the oldest one, I was like responsible with taking care of that household. And the reason why I reached out, obviously there's, at first it was for the ego, but for some reason these past few weeks, my mentality has been really shifting. I've had some really unique experiences where I understand that we have to have stories about vulnerability and stories about making sure that, yeah, you see me fucking working for the feds, teaching in prisons, getting into a doctorate. You see what's on social media, but you don't see the struggle behind what it takes to get there. And the impacts. We were talking about that movie Spaceman, we'll talk about a little bit later, about what's more important, choosing the glory or choosing the beautiful relationships. So for me, it's like, you know what, I like what they do. Like, I felt that your show is raw, it's not polished. Like, I purposely didn't prep something to come here. I wanted to speak from the heart.
Right.
Because a lot of times in our communities, we want to shield the heart and be like, I'm doing fucking good, man.
Yeah,
like, I got a highlight. Like, I got the badge that we talked about a little bit earlier. And we forget about the fucking traumas that we go through by being incarcerated, or for me being in the military, or kind of lock away fucking the shit that I went through with my dad. And it's important to sometimes talk about that shit. And maybe it's because I'm a social worker, you're wearing the therapy shirt. And that's why I want to show people like the good, the bad, and the ugly.
No, we appreciate that. I think
seriously.
I'm glad that and that's exactly what we hope when people come on here. It's like, you don't want to come here to push an ego or to push some kind of agenda as far as like to promote yourself. We want you to come here with the agenda to mentor and provide a story so people can relate, right? And we appreciate that you're coming raw because we want to hear it raw. That's how it should be told. A lot of sugarcoating, that's not it. Yeah. Now it's time to just really tell it up front and the reality of how this shit goes. How old were you when you transitioned from California to Arizona?
I was 11 going on 12.
So very good, fresh,
super
memorable.
Super young, huh?
Yeah, young and definitely someone that can remember everything vividly, right? How many siblings do you have?
So I have two younger brothers, Jose or Jose Luis. I believe he's like 35. And then my little brother, Aaron, he's 11 younger than me. So I think he's like 27, 28. So I left Tucson and I never looked back. I never looked back. I've gone there a couple times. The only good thing that came out of Tucson was my wife. I married my next door neighbor.
That's right.
Next door neighbor.
Was it going out there like not apartments, just houses and stuff, real homey type community?
Yeah. So where I grew up in, like first they're like we moved to my tia's house and then we got an apartment on Santa Clara. Shout out to the homie Noe who like just got at me like a couple weeks ago. We were talking about like us like just running amok in the Santa Clara apartments in Tucson, like on the south side. But yeah, so like my mom got like my dad got a little job and got an apartment in Santa Clara. We lived there. I lived for a few years, probably until I was like 16. And yeah, it was just like a really like close, like little close-knit community of like all these kids. We'd play like tag and we like fight each other. It wasn't like a gang kind of background. It was just more of like just a bunch of kids being kids.
It's a neighborhood community.
Just a neighborhood community. We like lived like we had a little desert next to us and we lit it on fire and like all scared shitless because the firefighters came and were like, we're gonna get caught. We never got caught, you know.
Right.
But like literally like a huge wildfire that we started and we're fucking scared shitless. But yeah,
they might just get you for that one now.
no, yeah. But yeah, so and then around 16, my mom got a Section 8 voucher, and that was the first time we moved to a home, and I was like super excited because it was one of those brand new KB homes in Tucson. There's all those like these tracts of homes, right? And we lived like an HOA community, but we were like the only Section 8 house on that HOA community. Remember, it's $29 a month.
What?
That is nuts.
What year was that? Like $29 a month? That's like probably what
2001, 2002 probably.
That's not long. I mean, that's long ago, but it's not long ago at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, from where we're at now, right?
Yeah.
In Tucson, $29, man. And yeah, so but I was always distant from them. Like for me, like my wife can tell you, I was like the little weird kid. She thought I was gonna like probably go to prison since I was a kid because I was.
Even as a kid, what about school? How did that what was your interaction with school?
School was that was where I escaped, right?
Even as a youngster, I know now you're an academic, but
school's always been easy for me, right?
Okay.
Like that's always been something that's been easy for me. Like I really did well in school, but I did well when I wanted to try, and I did shitty because I didn't care about school, and that like we talked about always searching acceptance. For me, I wanted to use like school as this reality where I was doing okay, and what was happening behind the closed doors in my house wasn't real. So I lived like. Now I understand that was a protective factor, right? I disassociated from my house, and I really focused. Like in school, I was on the soccer team, I was at ROTC, and I worked really. I was a hustler since like day one, right? So I worked. I always found a way to make money. So I was able to create this illusion that I was doing okay because I dressed a little bit better. But I was like the kid fucking selling candies door to door, making sure, or like. Working on the weekends, I would work at the swap meet, making $100, like, for 3 days of work, like literally working a 16-hour day, probably getting exploited as a child. So I was able to I was able to give this illusion that I was doing okay. But there was just still moments where like, I literally had to walk miles home because my dad forgot to pick me up because he was so drunk. Like after soccer practice, right? And I really separated like my school life and my home life. Because we had, like, when I was 16, we moved, like, far on the east side, but I was still going to the school that was from, like, the south side. South side's kind of the bad part. East side's kind of like the okay side. So I was able to really compartmentalize. And all my friends, like, thought I was cool because I was the first one with the car. Like, I was like a sophomore with a little shitty-ass Mustang, man. I thought it was, like, the coolest fucking Mustang. It was missing the airbag and shit. You had to turn it on with the screw. I thought I was cool, like... I burned the clutch. I bought it for like $800. I worked my ass off one summer. I was working like 12 hours like a day, like for like $5 an hour, dude. I got like the summer youth program, and I remember like my sophomore year, I was like the kid with a Mustang, and everybody thought I was like the coolest kid. But that was just a way of me hiding the fucked up shit that was happening at home.
Yeah. What? So you? I know you're mentioning like the stuff at home. Can you give us like an idea of what would be like a traumatic day for you going home? You're doing your thing with your friends, and then you got to walk into the house to what? What would that look like?
Yeah,
You don't have to get in detail.
No,
if you don't
not in
want to,
detail, but like so I learned that I disassociated from my childhood. I don't remember a lot of my childhood. Like those little instances, like the car, that was like a big deal that I
big
remember.
moment for you. Yeah.
But in the actual household, I shut down, dude. And I still struggle with that now too. And I've been in therapy for the last probably 4 years, and I'm slowly starting to open up and find out some of the emotional issues that I deal with, and the reason why I chose drugs to cope with it. But I just, for me, some of the memories were not so much predicated on violence, but man, it was my mom. Seeing your mom in bed, but her not being there. Her mind was gone.
Aloof, huh?
Just like, and I remember one time that I came home and we had barely like anything to eat. And my mom was on SSI and my dad was a mechanic, so we did have money, but I never figured out where it went. And I remember like my little brother was hungry. And we had like a ramen noodle soup and we had to split it in half. And like that was like our dinner for that day. Like coming from school and being on the soccer team and like having fun with my Mustang and everybody loving me, and then having to open the door and your mom's like all in cobijas in her room, like 'cause she's just so gone like psychiatrically, and like me coming into like the having to feed my brother. And one of my coping mechanisms back then was that I wanted everything perfect. If the house was clean, even though my mom was in the room fucked up and my dad was drunk in the garage, as long as the house looked clean, I felt okay. So I was like a clean freak. Not much anymore, but so like I would come home and even though like I knew there was this reality of my mom being all fucked up, I had to start vacuuming and washing the dishes and cleaning the bathroom and telling my little brother, yelling at him like, no, like the TV has to be fucking perfectly clean. Like everything has to be perfect. Because in my little fucked up mind, that was my way of being like, if the house is clean, everything's going to be okay. It doesn't matter that my dad's drunk in the garage, and it doesn't matter that my mom's fucked up, in the room, but the house is clean and I'm okay. And I would close my door. And I was always a little nerd good on computers. So I would just go and play StarCraft. Put on my headphones and forget it.
Hey, real quick, and that's interesting to me, and I'm just curious to know, is it because you think there was no structure at home, so the only structure that there could be that you can control is the cleaning?
Yeah.
Is that like what it is?
That's it. That's it. And it's hard to answer that question. I know it was a long-winded answer, but it was hard because that was a constant pattern, right? And sometimes, and my tia, who was like our savior, and so my tia, she owned the little care home, the one that like the reason we moved, she passed away like at 42.
She's young, man.
But she was like the one that would kind of like help my mom out and give us like some semblance of normalcy. And I think she passed away like in 2001, 2002. And that was a really brutal experience because I was really on my own.
Things got worse at that point.
Yeah, a lot worse because she owned a little care home. Like she like took care of old people and she like was in the nice part of town and she was able to take care of us. And when my mom wasn't doing good, like she'd take my mom and I'd be able to go to school and she kind of just held like everything together. But yeah, when she passed away, and my cousin was actually doing a life sentence in prison, I could still remember.
Is that one of her kids?
Yeah, one of her kids, man.
Damn,
he was in prison. He's still in prison, actually.
Were you already kind of like exposed to that side of like that concept of people being incarcerated or anything?
Yeah, because my dad was a drunk. My dad got arrested for like 10 fucking DUIs. Like the cops. I remember being in the car with my dad and fucking like, oh shit, like here we go again, another fucking DUI, But I would just check out, dude. Like I literally checked out. Not probably till like my self-help groups in prison when I started kind of remembering. But to be truly honest, for a lot of time, even in the military, I didn't remember my childhood.
That's nuts.
That's like it's I did like I just checked out. I remember some instances of cleaning, and I get a lot of information from my wife because she like saw us in the apartments, she knew. So she's the one that's been able to fill the gaps, and I love her to death. But yeah, it's really hard to go back. And like I told you, the moment I left, I was fucking 18. I never looked back.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even fucking talk to my mom for years.
Was that something that you had in your head already? That as soon as I turned
Yeah, the moment
18,
I'm out,
gone?
I'm out.
Really?
Like it's a wrap.
Was there anything though, any type of guilt or anything for the other two siblings that you left behind,
Not
or
until
not left behind, right? Because that's a
not until recently.
Mm.
Not until recently. Probably in the last 3 years.
This is nuts because like this was years ago.
Yeah, like you're
And
seeing me
you're-
heal. I'm healing now.
You're healing now, yeah. And now, do you feel like what they say is true? Time will heal, or time will help you heal.
No.
It's only or experiences help you heal.
You have to do the work to want to do the healing. That's been the hard part. And I had a conversation with my little brother Aaron. Man, probably about a year and a half, when my little brother was going to get out of prison. My little brother caught a case for kidnapping and aggravated assault, and he was coming out of prison. And I got in a really bad argument with my little fucking brother. Really bad fucking argument. And I was like, my brother's really fucking smart. Got a master's in nursing. Has a really good fucking job.
Wow.
He's like the one that's not a fuck up.
Yeah.
Actually, he just became a fuck up last week because he got a fucking DUI.
oh man,
Oh,
that
so
DUI
fu-
will.
I was so
get ya.
fucking dude. I was so
Shit,
fucking
dude.
hot. But we'll talk about that. But I'm just crazy. Like, you guys are really fucking making me go in, right? I've never really talked about this in public, and my wife's gonna be like, "Fuck, you really went vulnerable, right?" And I had a really crazy conversation with my brother. I was like, "Look, Halsey's coming out of prison. I'm doing good. You're doing good. It's our fucking job to make sure that we take care of him." He's the one that got like the shit end of the stick. I was able to fucking disappear in my Mustang and my fucking friends, and my little brother was the one that had to deal with my mom's crazy shit and my shit. And then you came along and he had to take care of you. And then the moment I left, I was 17. He was still fucking 16, right? He still had to deal with this shit. He didn't. And my little brother's not. He's not as smart as me and Aaron. And he's the one that's been fucked up psychologically the most. He didn't have like the protective factors of like me being a workaholic and my little brother just getting. My mom finally got medicated, so my little brother was able to see a good mom, right? A mom that got on meds and a mom that kind of like was able to live an okay life because she finally went to get help. And my mom's doing a little bit okay. She's still fucked up, but she's medicated. So my little brother got the good life. But me and I was telling my brother off. I was like, "Why don't you want to fucking help my Josie?" And he fucking told me something that really fucked me up. He's like, "You don't know what I went through when you fucking left. You just fucking left. And you never looked back." Josie couldn't take care of my mom. Like I was the only one. And I never saw it that way. Like I never. He's like, "I always got to take care of everybody." Like he became the caretaker. He's like, and now he's like, now in our 20s, he's like, "You were gone in prison or in California." Josie still came back to the house all fucking high. My mom and my dad ended up separating. My dad actually, at the age of 50, he transitioned from alcohol to meth. And my dad's doing really fucked up in Arizona right now. I came to a reality in my life that I can't help people that don't want help. But I'm able to forget it because I live in California. I don't have to worry about what happens around in Tucson.
Wife and kids, everything.
I got the
over
family.
here,
I'm
you're
focused on me
situated.
reintegrating back from prison. In prison, I didn't even think about it. You know, I'm fucking on a GP yard. I got to focus on prison, right?
Yeah.
And my wife doesn't have time to deal with them. She's fucking taking care of 2 kids while her husband's in prison. We didn't really have to deal with that reality. But when I got out, you know, as a lot of us that get out of prison, we kind of want to we realized through self-help groups, like, fuck, man, we had a fucked up childhood. Like, we went through some fucked up shit. So I wanted to kind of mend things back together. But I never realized that my little brother Aaron, he kind of went through like a similar experience like me. And probably a little bit worse because he like had to take care of my fucked up brother, my fucked up mom, and my dad. And he kind of, I see it in him now that he disassociated like me too, but he's really fucking smart. Like got a scholarship to the University of Arizona, got into a master's program, and like graduated with the master's like at 23, right? Super young, did it the right way. But that was a fucked up thing that he said. He's like, you know, you don't get it. And my brother's gay. My mom doesn't know that my brother's gay.
Typical Latino family.
Yeah, I'm really religious,
structure,
hyper religious. And I always I knew my brother was gay. And for me, like, even though I'm like super Catholic, I was like, you know what? you're my little sister. Like, I got you, bro. Like, it doesn't matter where the fuck you at. Like, I got you. Like, whoever you want to love. But when he told me, he's like, you don't get it. I can't be myself. I got to take care of everybody. You know, you got to, right now he's fucking 20 something. He's still taking care of my mom. He still lives with my mom. You know, making fucking really good money in Tucson. He's choosing to stay with my mom and putting everything to the side. You know, his own issues with his own sexuality, his issues with who he is as a person. And I was so selfish in thinking, look, I'm going to come back and I'm going to fix things. We talked about my income and how I progressed economically so quickly out of prison. I was thinking I was going to be able to fix things with money. You can't really fix things with money. And it was just a fucked up, like, reality to accept. And it hurt. He's like, I don't want to help. He's like, I don't want to help Jose. Like, I want to, like, I'm good now. Like, I want to go to school and take care of my mom and live my life. I don't want him in my fucking house on parole. Damn. And I was mad because I was like, come on, homie. Like, we're familia. You know, we take care of each other. Like, no questions asked. Like, but I had no right or no tenía derecho to impose my belief systems and my growth on him. I didn't.
Yeah.
And that was a hard pill to fucking swallow. And even I talked like 2-3 weeks ago, my little brother absconded from parole. Jose absconded from parole. And he showed up to my little brother Aaron's house. Fucking with the key of dope in his backpack.
No way.
High as a fucking kite. Talking nonsense. I'm on fucking FaceTime on one phone. I have a work phone from the VA. So I'm on FaceTime with my little brother trying to de-escalate my fucking brother while I'm on the phone with Tucson police and they're telling me it's a 3-hour fucking response time.
What? Well, I don't know. I want to ask, like, why is that? Is it because
I don't fucking know, bro.
Because it's desert?
I'm like, no, it's fucking Tucson. They're like, we just have a lot going on. I'm like,
I get it.
So me and my little brother are like, my little brother's like, dude, go buy him a 6-pack of beer, get him some cigarettes. Because my brother's gone. He's triple CMS, EOP, like prison, right?
Oh, really?
Like,
okay, so
psychologically,
psych meds
yeah, he's on psych meds and he's all fucked up. And he's dirty, been homeless on the streets, fucking filthy, like a dude from Skid Row, right? My heart's fucking broken. Like, I can't even.
So he didn't have any chance. And we'll go back to kind of like, I want to see what happens when you know, leave the house at 17. But did he have any like, was there any, I guess, good time as soon as he gets out? Like he immediately jumped into that madness?
Yeah. So it was I picked him up from prison. And I remember when I picked him up from prison, I told him, we ain't poor no more. I don't forget that. I said, we're not poor. Because his idea of getting out of prison, I just want a hamburger from McDonald's. Right? The simple things.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, homie, like, I ain't getting you a hamburger from McDonald's.
A steak or something?
We're going to the best restaurant in Tucson. Yeah. On my fucking exclusive Amex card. I still have pictures of him. I'll show you guys after this. Of him eating that food. I feel like I failed him because I should have been there more for him. So he got out, we got him into a reentry home. We paid for like a few months. But Tucson doesn't have the infrastructure that LA has in reentry, right? So he went to like literally, like the reentry home is like in the middle of like kind of like Tucson's version of South Central. He fell off his meds. The moment he fell off his meds, we didn't know he fell off his meds. We didn't know he got kicked out of his reentry. He would just call us and he was still good. And unfortunately, he went back to my dad, and my dad's in the middle of his addiction. And then my brother just got lost, and we've been looking for him. We were looking for him for months. So when he showed up to like, and then his parole officer knows the work that I do. So like I built a good relationship with his parole officer. It's kind of fucking funny, right? But she's like, hey, we were looking for him to get him into treatment. Like I was looking, and he just randomly showed up to my little brother's house. And I'm like, I'm on FaceTime, hoping like that we can de-escalate him. And, you know, now having the social worker training and understanding kind of feelings a little bit and knowing like I have the skill sets now to be able to address the crisis, right? But my little brother's fucking like, you know, a nurse. He doesn't really do like shit like this. So he's freaking out. I'm like, dude, buy him a 6-pack, get him some cigarettes, order some food. Like, we're just hoping the fucking Judas show up. And I'm being broken on the inside because I'm the one that has to call the Judas on my brother. You know, I didn't come from the gangs, but when I went to prison, I assimilated into the culture, right? I ran Paisa because I didn't know. Like, I showed up to the 3000s. Where you from? I'm Mexican. All right, your Paisas, go over there. Like, have a nice day. But I really assimilated into that culture and really got those belief systems of, like, we don't call the cops. We don't snitch on our people. So I'm being broken on the inside. having to call the cops on my brother. And the fucking Huda, they texted us. The cop texted me, right? He's like, "Kurt, we're on the way." And he's like, "We're 5 minutes away. We have the Huda's texting me. We have the house surrounded. Tell your brother to get on the ground. Tell your other brother to walk out of the house, because he's on a felony warrant."
Yeah.
I didn't realize that this motherfucker's on a felony warrant.
And I'm thinking they probably assumed the other brother was probably a cholo, tatted up too. They're like, 3 brothers from a parole. They probably knew a little bit more of your story, but they're gonna approach that situation like that. Yeah.
And fuck, man, like that shit broke my heart when like I told my brother Jose, I was like, we're on FaceTime. I was like, "Hey Jose, like I'm very sorry. I need you to get on the ground. I need you to get on the ground, because we know how they respond."
Yeah. Crazy how sour that situation.
And I'm watching this shit
Yeah.
on fucking FaceTime, and this motherfucker says, "Fuck that," and he runs out the fucking house.
No way.
And the fucking FaceTime, like, it just goes out. And I'm over here like, fuck. Luckily, the cop, like 5 minutes in, he's like, "We got him in custody. He's going to the mental hospital. Pro already knows." But that whole like experience was like a little like example of like my whole life, right? Because I'm over here, you know, as a graduate social work student, having the skill sets to de-escalate him. I'm really seeing what my little brother has to go through, and I'm being reminded of the traumatic experiences of when I see the cops coming to de-escalate my dad. And now I have the skill sets to talk about it and to be vulnerable and express that experience, but to really see like, fuck, like we really come from some fucked up backgrounds, you know, like still, like I'm doing good now, you know, 5 years out of prison, highly educated, my brother in a master's, all those doing good. Like we're still weighed down by the anchors of some of the conditions of being marginalized and poverty and mental health. Like I'm seeing like how Tucson's failing people coming out of prison, right? And they're not giving them the supportive systems that they need. And being so lucky to be here in California where we're at PV Jobs, like we're at an organization that's like the whole get down is to get our people highlights, to give them that identity and that badge, right? And to like be like, you got a highlight now, you got a new brotherhood, the way you said it, right? And it was just a really, really fucking interesting situation.
With that, that was like it. What trips me out is the idea of, because I do hear these stories. It's like looking for my brother. Yo, we gotta look for my brother. Like I've been looking for him for the past year and a half, right? To what extent does that consist of? Because me, like for instance, if I lost my bro, I'd be asking anybody and their mom was like, I'd probably be going looking at calling shelters, going to passing through bridges, trying to see like what's happening. Was that your experience too?
No, I went back to my old programming. I checked out.
And you were in California too, right? So
for me, it's like, you know what? I got so much shit going on in my own life that I came to the understanding that, and it's a fucked up thing to say, I can't help you if you don't want to be helped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was willing to pay for my brother's apartment. I was willing to get him into the best substance use center in Tucson. I had to understand that I did, because I did everything for him. I rolled out the red carpet when he got out, right? Took him to a steakhouse. We paid for the little shitty reentry home. For me, I just checked. I was like, I tried everything, but I didn't understand how deep his mental health was. Mm-hmm. So now when he gets out this time in May, I'm going to take a very different approach. I'm trying to get him transferred to California. Mm-hmm. I have a little apartment in the back of my house, a little fucking tough shed. It's not even really an apartment, but we used it as an apartment. So my goal,
you know, real quick, I always want to say, coming from a cell, you look at that like that's a fucking luxury apartment. Like, well, you can make it work.
I can fucking make it work.
And stuff, I'm like, that back house is nice. I'll take that parking garage. I can put a carpet down and make it right.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, I'm
just a mentality.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's just like, for me, it's like, all right, he's in the back of my house. And my wife's like, do you really want him back here? And I'm like, you know what? Like, now that I understand how deep his mental health is, I will help him. But no, I checked, because for me, my response to trauma is to check out. I just check out. And that doesn't make a very good dad and a very good husband.
So real quick. So on that note, I am curious to know, how did that checkout kind of way of coping help you at 17, or did it help you now that you're transitioning to a whole different path, to figuring that out on your own, and now you're leaving that household?
So when I left, I left to the military. So I joined the Navy at 17. It took a year.
Okay,
it took a year to go.
That's amazing.
It took a year to get into DEP, right? And then I got in trouble. What I told you, I got in trouble with my brother and almost didn't go, like, so I didn't end up, I ended up leaving to boot camp. I think it was either like a month after I turned 18. A month after I turned, because I graduated when I was 17.
What put that in your head that military was an option?
Because I was an ROTC.
Okay, so this was already...
Yeah. So for me, it's like, that. My plan was I'm leaving fucking Tucson. No matter what, I'm getting the fuck out. Fuck everybody. Like, I'm a do me. I became very selfish as a protective factor. Like, I got to take care for me. So that checkout process, well, it worked really well in the military, right? Because what is boot camp? Boot camp is the deprogramming and checking out from society so you can become a member of the fucking system, a member of the machine, right? So you can do the mission first, emotion second, right? You become kind of a robot and you get acclimated to that environment. So I fucking thrived in boot camp. Like, it was fucking cool, Like, I mean, for me, I fit right in.
No moments of like, what the hell am I doing here?
Only when I thought I was like the best marcher, because I came from ROTC and like they taught me how to fucking march in ROTC. Okay. But it's the Navy. We march a little bit different, and I joke where we're like we say, hey, like how you like. That was a joke. I told the fucking drill sergeant, I was like, what do you want me to? We're in the Navy. Like, you don't want me to fucking march all stiff. You want me to be like with the hand back? He's like, shut the fuck up and go do some push-ups. I was a smartass. That's the only issue I had in fucking boot camp. But no, like for me, it was like I felt a breath of fresh air because I found a new family. For me, and then I was just happy. I was just like, okay, I have a job. I have a place to be. I don't got to worry about my fucking problems. Ya estuvo, like the nightmare's over.
So you really filtered all that stuff out, huh?
Yeah, completely.
That's deep, man. That's kind of, you would say cold too.
It's fucked up.
But then you think about like you have to, if your mental health isn't there or teetering on that fucking border, you're like, do I either put up that wall and exit out, or do I fucking dwell on it? And now I may get worse. I might digress of what I'm, with what I'm doing. So it's a tough predicament to be put in.
Yeah. So, and the Navy was it was great. Got stationed in San Diego got to San Diego in 2005, got on the USS Peleliu. I became a quartermaster, which is somebody who navigates and drives the ships. Just really loved the Navy, San Diego, we're fucking young as fuck, like.
What was it like going back to San Diego and you haven't lived there as a child? Now in the military, now in the Navy.
You're coming out of the military. You're fucking young, dumb, full of cum, fucking like ready to go. Like, you're fucking proud.
You're full of cum. I've never heard that before.
It's
That's crazy.
But you're just like all fucking full of ego. Oh, you're like fucking 19, bro. I thought I was on top of the fucking world. Like, I'm in the fucking world, America's greatest Navy. All of us feel the same way. Like, you're walking around the town like you fucking own it. That's the way San Diego is, right? A lot of people don't like sailors because we have this fucking like attitude of superiority. When in reality, we're these fucking low junior sailors who don't know shit about the world. But no, I was happy as fuck. And what was cool about it was that my grandma still lived in San Diego.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
So, but I didn't really talk to her that much. But my grandma's a fucked up lady. If you think I love fucking disassociated, she left her kids like 30 years ago and never looked back. I think that's a thing in our family. She found somebody in love. She's in a very impoverished condition in San Diego. But back to that theme, I can't help if you don't want help. Like, I just can't. I can't save the world anymore. But no, like, it was cool because my grandma lived there. So, like, all my homies were like, hey, let's go get some fucking Mexican food. Like, food from the grandma, And I still talked to her while I was in Tucson, but she kind of separated from my dad, too, because my mom was kind of crazy, right? She decided, like, when we went to Tucson.
That grandma was your dad's mom?
Yeah, my dad's mom.
Okay.
But when we went to Tucson, my grandma was like, fuck that. I'm staying in San Diego.
I'm staying.
Like, we're good. Like, I'm good on this fucking crazy lady and her fucking husband. Like, y'all go figure it out. But like, it was cool. We came back and I remember she cooked us enchiladas and mole.
You and your other
like my homies, Copeland and a couple of other dudes, and just happy, like every time we'd come back, we'd go to her house and she'd have fucking arroz con pollo, caldo de pollo, like traditional Mexican food, enchiladas, tacos, like. Yeah. But it's a grandma, like like righteous grandma. So I had that like little piece of home without the problems.
It was like that homey vibe.
Yeah, and I see how that, like, it's a perfect scenario to get you out of that perfect environment where you legitimately don't have time to dwell on that because the task is in front of you and you got to execute. And
it's just
whatever your job is.
Yeah. And having no emotions in the military is the environment you want to be in.
It's probably a good thing, right?
It's a good thing. So
how long did you do in the Navy?
6 years.
6 years into full. And so from what we chopped it up about before, something ended up happening with a medical condition. But your plans were to keep going?
Yeah, my
did
plan
you
was
want to touch on that?
20 years. Yeah, so, I love the Navy, right? I absolutely love the Navy. The Navy was my life.
6 years, man.
And, on a deployment to, I think it was my second deployment to Micronesia, I was on what's called a LHA, a landing helicopter assist. It's like a mini aircraft carrier. It's about maybe 300 feet shorter, 400 feet shorter than a real like big carrier. It's designed to carry Marine expeditionary units. It's like we call it the Marine taxi. So it's like literally when we want to go take Marines to a country, we take the whole fucking MEU, the tanks, the fucking helicopters, and 4,000 Marines. We coming to fuck you up, right? But the ship also has a hospital on it. There's 100 beds. So sometimes it's used for like humanitarian missions. So we went on a humanitarian mission. It was called the Peleliu Pacific Partnership to Micronesia. I don't know if there's a tsunami. There's some like natural disaster that happened out there. But because it was a non-Marine deployment, there was still jobs that the Marines did, but because they weren't on the ship, the sailors had to do it. So I got attached to something called combat cargo. It sounds really fucking complicated. Literally, dude, it's like you're the UPS of the ship. Your job is to take on the cargo and put it back on. So whatever equipment's coming on or coming off, this little ragtag crew, that's their job, right? The medical equipment, like the tractors and the trucks and everything that's on the bottom of the ship. That was our job. So it was like they picked like the 2 lowest junior enlisted sailors from every department.
Oh man.
So everybody thought that they were fucking us over, but the reality was like the coolest fucking job because your job was when the ship was in port, but when you were like on the ship, you didn't do shit. So we just fucked around, wrestled, we learned Marine Corps martial arts. We just did a bunch of cool shit. Like when we're with the Marine unit, we have a gunnery sergeant, so we're fucking shooting the M16s out of the back of the ship. So in LHA, it's a flat bottom. It on the bottom of it, the ship can actually submerge into the ocean, because it's called LCACs, landing craft air cushions. You ever seen like the air cushions? Like they're these boats and they're like the hovercraft. These huge
it's just blowing out.
It's a fucking hovercraft.
Yeah.
So there's 2 hovercraft on the ship, and like the Marines put their tanks on and they take the hovercraft, and that's how they fucking take over the beach. So this ship like literally can sink like down. So it didn't have the Alcacs. It had these other things called LCUs. They're these two little boats that come to the back of the ship. So us as combat cargo, it's our job to accept whether the cargo is coming on from the port or whether it's coming on from the ocean. So what they did was doctors would go out to the city and they would pick up patients that needed like eye surgeries or had some medical conditions. They'd bring them back on the ship. We had some like NGOs, non-government organizations, some doctors, like Doctors Without Borders, doing these like really critical surgeries for these people that normally don't have this medical care. So my job in combat cargo was called a manifester. So when these people would come on the boat, all these like citizens from these little islands, like the Marshall Islands, like there's Marshall Islands, Solomon Islands, all these little tiny weird like Polynesian islands. My job was to accept them and to check their paperwork and make sure like no fucking terrorist was coming on. We had our guns on us and everything, right?
Yeah.
Making sure that we're like the security of who the fuck's coming on the boat.
Yeah.
Well, what happened is these people have like infectious diseases. Like they're sick.
Yeah.
And we're like the first fucking layer of sick people coming on the boat.
First contact.
The first fucking contact. So I didn't know I got sick from that because the deployment's over, 2-3 months, I'm at home laying in bed with my wife, and I got this big-ass fucking ball on my neck. And my wife's like, it just came out of nowhere. And my wife's like, hey, what the hell's wrong with your neck? So I go to the doctor, they can't figure out what it is. They think it's cancer, they think it's some weird fucking tropical disease. And I'm in the hospital for months, them trying to figure out what it is.
Did you get any symptoms outside of just
no pain, there? No nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. Like it was just a weird fucking Quasimodo fucking little thing on my neck. Like it was big. It was like a golf ball.
It was your evil side.
Yeah, it was like my little fucking extra head popping out. But it was just like a really vicious year, right? First of all, because we were getting ready to go on another deployment. So some people like think that when you don't want to go on deployment, you like fake that you have medical issues and you're like a bitch, so you don't want to fucking deploy. Like I wasn't being a bitch. Like I literally got fucking sick. Like I got this shit on my neck. So like all the dudes were like fucking ostracizing me. Like, man, like you don't want to go on a fucking deployment because now you got this pretty wife and she's fucking pregnant and blah, blah, blah. So they made my life fucking miserable. And I'm over here thinking like I have these acceptance issues because, you know, I never was accepted by my dad. So I'm just feeling all fucked up here. And then I have this medical issues, right? Long story short, some nurse like said, let's do a tuberculosis test. And my whole fucking arm like blew up. The little PPD test, it like turned red, like it was like fucking positive. And they're like, oh shit, this motherfucker has tuberculosis. So like I got isolated because they think it's a pulmonary fucking disease. So I got isolated, fucking put in like this travel like hospital at Balboa in San Diego. They start giving me all the fucking medication. So like finally got better. Tuberculosis, it ended up being tuberculosis, but it's called scrofula. Tuberculosis of lymph nodes. That's why my lymph node was fucking swollen. But tuberculosis is a fucked up ass fucking.
Well, yeah, I'm like thinking right now, I'm like, that's just crazy. Like people, any job you do, any government job, you go work for a school, they test for that. Like, that's just a serious condition.
Yeah, so like that whole situation, like, so to track back a little bit, because we didn't have a lot of work to do on combat cargo. I used to go through like a space on the ship where there was a paralegal there that was doing legal work, and through the time I started to get to know this lady. Her name was Marisela Letiri. And she was a legal one on the ship. And for me, like, I wasn't doing my navigation job. I was stuck down on the fucking bottom of the ship. And I was like, you know what? Let me see if I like doing this paralegal shit. And I asked her, I was like, hey, like, how do you become a paralegal in the Navy? Because I really like the law. So on my off time, I would go and, like, help her out, do some legal work. And she took me under her wing, and she really showed me the job. Becoming a paralegal in the Navy is very difficult. You have to be in the Navy at least 2 years before you can apply to be a paralegal. You're the most hated person on the ship because you're the motherfucker arresting everybody. And you're the motherfucker sending everybody to court. So when they come see you, it's when somebody's fucked up.
Like court-martialed.
Yeah. So we call it NJP. So Article 15 is the step before court-martial. Non-judicial punishment. So you're like the non-judicial punishment person on the ship. But I really loved the law. I really fell in love with it. So because of that, when I got sick, they took me off the ship. Everybody was pissed off because they thought I was being like a pussy, like getting off the ship and not getting deployed. When I really was fucking sick, they put me in a legal unit.
So you're not taking any medication or nothing, and you're just is this like
this is ongoing, dude? Like the ship goes on deployment. For months, like I'm on the ship. Everybody's thinking I'm trying to skate out of deployment. The ship ends up they deploy, but I stay back, and all the homies are like, "Damn, like you're a bitch. Like you didn't fucking like." It's like, you know, the homies go on a mission, and you're that motherfucker that stays home, and you're like, because you're scared.
Yeah.
No, I feel exactly, bro. I feel it even when I'm playing COD. Like, they say, "Yo, let's push," and I'm like, "No, I'm not down." It's like, "Stop being a bitch."
I was legitimately fucking sick. Like, homie, like they installed cameras in my house because the public health came and fucking like I have a public health fucking disease, right? But because I did that little legal shit on the ship, she pulled some strings and was able to put me like, because normally when you get on like, it's called limited duty, they put you in the shittiest fucking jobs. The shittiest jobs on the base. A dude fucking cleaning like the sewers, like the shittiest jobs, right? Because everybody knows the people that are on like fucking medical duty are the motherfuckers that are really not trying to go get deployed, right?
For the most part. So they automatically give you the word, like, you want to play like that? If you are faking it, you're gonna do the worst thing you're gonna do.
You're gonna fuck around and find out, right? Yeah. But she pulled some strings and got me to like a legal unit. So it's cool. Like I got to do court martials and like do like a lot of Navy appeals and really fell in love with the law. But I was really fucked up on like how my solid homies like fucking kicked me to the curb. So I went to psych and like try to really figure out like my acceptance issues. Like my demons from my childhood came back because like, you know, I finally found a community and now I'm being rejected by my community.
Yeah.
So I got into fucking paralegal school, but like it wasn't right anymore. I went to psych. Psych gave me some fucking Adderall, got all addicted on Adderall. And when I got to my third deployment on the USS Abraham Lincoln, I was just fucked up psychologically, right? Because psych gave me some fucked up meds. I'm not feeling accepted. Like, so when you get put on medical duty, it's like your R jacket, like in prison. Like everybody knows you fucking skated from fucking deployment.
Is that because everyone's doing some crazy shit and they're looking at you and you're just kind of like, I'm on medical soft leave or whatever?
Yeah, so you really get ostracized, right? So like I just didn't know how to adjust really well, and I started having some behavioral issues. I'm having arguments with my wife over here and just fucking like, long story short, ended up fucking getting in trouble for fucking disobeying a lawful order. But I'm a fucking paralegal on the fucking ship. I know better. So I'm gonna get double the fucking punishment.
Man.
Okay, like, what do you mean by disobeying lawful? Like, what is an example of that?
I went to Mexico without fucking supposed to be going to Mexico. Right.
So real quick, I've always wondered that. So I used to go to Tijuana a lot back in the day, not anymore. But I know that even San Diego, they don't like the sailors because they bar fights.
Yeah, they don't like.
And they come deep. Same thing in Tijuana, that they go next door. But I never knew, and I used to see some of them walking the streets there in the Revolucion. This is back probably late 90s, early 2000s ish. But I always wondered, wouldn't it be like some type of conflict of interest? You're in another country and you're serving the military.
Yeah, like in the early 2000s, they prohibited you going to Mexico if you were a certain rank. You had to ask permission to go.
That's interesting.
So I was on leave, right? I was on leave because we were getting ready to deploy again. So I came back to San Diego, because my wife's from Tijuas, right? So for me, like, I'm like, fuck it, they're not gonna fucking check. Like, we go to Tijuana, like, we're gonna go see my wife's family.
Yeah, you would never
like, I wasn't thinking of doing something malicious, right? But me, I'm going through all these psych issues, I'm just like getting deployed again. I don't feel accepted. I'm fucking just all fucked up. And me and my wife get in an argument. Who does get called? They don't arrest me, but it gets fucking, it gets documented. And then the command finds out I'm in fucking Tijuas, right? And then my department already didn't fucking like me because I'm all fucking dealing with the psych issues. But not only that, I was really good at my fucking job. Really fucking good. So that's kind of a double-edged sword sometimes.
So, like, the way I see it is, like, on paper, it looks really bad.
Yeah, on paper, yeah.
On paper, things are looking bad. You got feds calling on you. You're on these meds. There's a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, all
tuberculosis done and over with at this point?
No, I'm still kind of dealing with it. Still taking the meds and shit. I'm all fucked up, right? Mm-hmm. And, like, the military, they don't support you with mental health issues. They don't. It's like, if you're not mission ready, like, fucking kick you to the curb. And that's what my department did, right? It's like, I got this unlawful order. They said, you know what, fuck it. Like, and they were mad. Unfortunately, the whole department was African American. And I'm a little Mexican kid. I fucking blew the exam for advancement out of the water. Like, so I got advanced to a higher rank. And then the homie who was next to me failed the fucking test. And he didn't get advanced. But he was cool with our chief. So they were hot as fuck that I'm going through these legal issues. I'm going to psych. I'm all fucked up. And yet I fucking passed the test to get like a higher rank.
Right.
So they fucking capitalize on that fucking situation. I'm going to take ownership. Like, yeah, should have probably asked permission to go to Mexico. I probably should have found some. The psych thing, it's hard. I always struggle with that one because, like, I went to ask for help. But the military is not designed to give you help, right? There really isn't that mental health support. Take these pills, get better, go back and do your fucking job. Shut the fuck up.
Right.
So my chief was like, you know what? You fucked up. We're gonna fucking take you to fucking. They wanted to court martial me on a fucking Article 92. That's like getting in trouble. It's like doing a misdemeanor and trying to give you life. Like, no mames.
That's crazy, bro.
And it's like, but this dude, like, all right. So it took him a year to go through the whole legal process to try to get me out, because they went like they fucking. Got like on a fucking going to Tijuas, they fucking pulled the cameras from fucking the border and literally saw me crossing the fucking, because I swiped my fucking passport, right? They fucking saw me crossing the border and they're like, he knew better, like he knows he's not supposed to, like it just became a whole fucking deal.
What do you think, like, it's like because this could start a whole situation with another country type shit?
Oh no,
like, is that probably why? Like that's why they have all this shit. Maybe
I'm thinking too, just the fact that if you get like a high ranked officer in there and you get fucking kidnapped,
yeah, it's all bad. If you ask permission, you're good. Yeah, if you ask permission, you're good. I just didn't, but I gave them the room they needed to fucking fuck with me.
Okay.
And then it was a wrap. They sent me cranking for a year. Cranking is the worst fucking job in the Navy.
Cranking being what?
It's called cranking is working in the kitchen. So everybody who's a junior sailor has to go do their time, like 4 months working in the kitchen. Because the kitchen, you're feeding thousands of sailors on an aircraft carrier, so they augment that fucking kitchen staff with junior sailors, right? And I wasn't a junior sailor, I was an E5.
So it was a number, huh?
Yeah, it was a good pay number. So it was like, I have a high rank, but I'm here with the fuck ups, like usually they send the fuck ups to cranking, like your headaches. So they used that opportunity, but I beat the record. I went cranking for a year instead of a fucking 4 months through a whole fucking deployment, dude. A whole fucking deployment covered in fucking like we don't have fucking what do you call them like when all the trash and everything, like you gotta fucking separate it and collect it because you're out to the ocean, right? It's like the nastiest fucking job, right? You're fucking washing dishes, fucking thousands of plates. You're working 16 hours a day. You don't sleep. you're fucking miserable feeding the fucking crew. And the cooks cook the food. But everything else in kitchen operations, the crankers do it. So we're talking about unclogging the fucking sinks, fixing the gas lines, fucking washing the dishes, mopping, sweeping, everything. It was fucking miserable.
Damn.
So like me going through my psych issues, lack of acceptance, being cranky, my own department fucking me over, I was saying, you know what, fuck it. Like I was fighting them trying to kick me out. You know what, I'm tired of this shit. Fuck you guys. I'm out. And then the fucking psych is giving me fucking Adderall so I can be calmed down. And I'm fucking loaded, bro. Because I'm taking 3-4 pills.
I was going to say, how often were you taking Adderall at that point?
I was taking fucking 3-4 fucking 70 milligrams probably. So 4 pills. So that's fucking like almost 200-300 milligrams of Adderall.
God damn.
And then there was a homie in the dorm with me who would buy them for me too. So before you go on deployment, they give you a gang of fucking pills because there's no pharmacy.
You can't get them again until you land, huh?
So yeah, so I was loaded in my own psych issues, dealing with some of my childhood trauma, lack of acceptance, got kicked out. Long story short.
So you end up getting kicked
I
out,
got
or
kicked-
like
yeah,
is that an honorable discharge or a dishonorable?
So I got lucky.
Because you have to get honorable to get all the benefits.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff,
So they kicked me out with the general under honorable because I re-enlisted in paralegal school. Those first 4 years was considered an honorable enlistment. So every time you re-enlist, it's a whole different period. And they were pissed because I knew the law in the military. I forced them to put on my DD-214, which is the document that discharges. It says this individual served honorably during these like 6 years. It literally said I served honorably like 5 months and like 5 years and like 8 months up until the last little 3 months when I got kicked out. So because I had that on my DD-214, I was eligible for the benefits. But I didn't look for benefits when I got out. I was mad as fuck. I was like, these motherfuckers did me dirty. Right. Now hindsight 2020, I was like, damn, man, like they should have seen I was going through some psychiatric issues. But they didn't. I was no longer a usable sailor. Go fucking wash some dishes, shut the fuck up, and get out of my Navy, right? And all started because I really got sick. But the way the system's designed is that it's not designed for hurt sailors. It's designed for people that are doing good, do the fucking mission, fight the fucking war, and move the fuck on, right? But I was no longer a usable sailor. And coming up, I'm still on Adderall. Like, I finally get my bearings. I discovered that I can get unemployment in Washington and in San Diego. So I was double dipping unemployment. And then somebody at the unemployment office said, you know, you can get the GI Bill. So I didn't get no fucking training to get out of the Navy. Like, literally, we got back from deployment. They gave me the fucking paperwork. They put me on an airplane and go back to fucking LA. Because my wife moved to LA while I was deployed. I was actually in Washington State. I was on the Lincoln in Washington. So when I got out, I just came back to... That's how I ended up in LA. My wife's Theo let her like live in a garage in the back of... He converted his back house, like one of those ADUs, like a 3 little bedroom fucking house. And my wife was there while I was deployed. Because she wasn't going to stay in Washington. Like, she didn't fucking know anybody in Washington. So before my deployment, I moved her out here. But yeah, just get out of Washington, go to the unemployment office, get the check. They tell me about the GI Bill. So I took a ride and go to school, get a little check, unemployment, and that's how I was supporting my family. And then I discovered that there was a special program at Cypress College for veterans that you can go to nursing school. I'm in the middle of my fucking Adderall addiction, dealing with getting kicked out of the military, trying to assimilate with a marriage and 2 kids and trying to figure out how to support my family. Somehow I passed fucking physiology, my anatomy, microbiology, and I ended up getting into fucking nursing school. But the moment I got into nursing school, my fucking unemployment stopped. But now I'm stuck. Because I'm in the illusion that if I graduate nursing school, I'm going to get a good ass jale. And I'm trying to support a family on the GI Bill, which is like, back then was like 2 Gs. How the fuck are you going to support your family? So, in my fucking grandiose addiction with a couple of my fucking classmates that also fucking had issues in the military, we came up with this fucking fraud scheme, you know, and because it's Cypress College, there's some homies there, and like we figured out that we can buy numbers, like, you know, on a USB, and fucking do fraud, make our own credit cards, emboss them, and started in the middle of nursing school, like we're fucking doing fucking fraud and skimming cards and embossing and making money.
So you're at your lowest point in your life that you feel like, as far as financially. You have homies in nursing school.
Yeah.
And you said, let's start scamming.
Yeah.
And you
So this is how it first started. We're like, how can we make money? So we discovered that at the Walmarts, they have some Walmarts used to have a garden exit, an oil exit, and a front exit. So I'd go in really quick on a credit card and buy 3 fucking 50-inch TVs. I'd come out the front entrance real quick. Well, actually, no, I would come out the oil entrance because the oil entrance doesn't mark your receipt. You know, when you go to
Yeah, they don't have.
And the homie was out there waiting for me in his car. We'd load up the TVs, and then I'd give my homie the receipt, and he'd go back in, get 3 other TVs, and he'd come out the garden exit. And then my other homie would go back in and get 3. So we'd get 6 TVs, and then we'd go to another Walmart, return the 3 that we bought. So now we got 6 TVs. So in nursing school, we discovered some homies we could sell the TVs to. So that's how it started.
Holy shit.
We could fucking collect the fucking TVs, and we did that for like a few months. Like, and we would do diapers, we'd do fucking TVs, we'd do like all these fucking things you could sell. And these little homies, I believe they were from fucking either Crow Village or Townsend. I forgot what fucking hood they were from. But then like they saw us fucking veterans, fucking, and we were fucking vicious. We'd go in our military uniforms to Walmart.
So no one would ever question your credit card,
no,
and the validity of it, and
like we thought we were fucking geniuses. You're in nursing school, like stupidest shit in the fucking world. So the Walmart thing turned into like, hey, you guys can buy these numbers from us, and then they showed us how to do everything. I had an IT background, so I've always been good with computers, and I did some white hacking when I was young. But I've always had this criminal element because my dad never taught me morality. I shared a little bit about my dad, but my dad was like involved in like a mechanic, but he was also selling drugs and fucking doing shit for the cartels, and he was a horrible criminal. But
oh shit, I didn't even know he was involved like that.
Yeah. So, but like that's just the culture in Tucson. Mm-hmm. Like everybody in the apartments, everybody does shit for the cartels because the apartments were like they were the first apartments on Valencia that were off the freeway that came from Nogales, Sonora, Mexico, Nogales, Sonora. So like. That was like the landing spot for like the dope, right? Like everybody fucking like knew like that just was the culture. But my dad was a mechanic, so he was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like he'd fuck around with them. So I saw that shit in my childhood. So for me, like stealing was like it was like, man, you're not hurting people.
It's not bad.
Like it's like whatever. It's Walmart. Like we're not doing shit. The credit card like I was just fucking, and I'm high. Like I'm fucking.
Did that Adderall addiction turned into something else?
Yeah. So like I ran out of Adderall and we're doing this Walmart shit with the fucking homies, right? And who has the dope?
The same dudes.
These
damn things, yeah.
Right. And then it just became a whole fucking mess. And then we realized doctors like to use drugs in our classmates. We started selling drugs to our classmates. At clinicals, we'd sell drugs to our fucking doctors, and it just became a whole fucking shit show. We thought we were like fucking the best fucking drug dealers and scammers in the world.
Sounds like a fucking movie for real. Like at the start of a movie, how shit just starts developing.
Yeah, but we're fucking idiots, dude. Yeah. Like we don't fucking. It took me 18 months on this fucking run to go end up in prison.
16.
Okay, so 18
like, I'm not
months is all it took, huh?
Yeah, because like it took me like a year and change to get into nursing school, do all the prereqs, and kind of still had some fucking pills left over Adderall. But yeah, like doing this, yeah, like I'm not a fucking criminal. I thought I was fucking smart. One of the little homies from one of the fucking we realized that one of the little homies from one of the hoods caught a body, and he snitched on us. Cause we were like, we had a whole fucking setup now. Like, like 6 months into our thing, like, okay, we stopped doing the Walmart shit. Now we're gonna get these credit cards, and okay, you're gonna go to Arizona and you're gonna fucking, go to the MacBook store and fucking buy some MacBooks, and you're gonna go to Washington and you're gonna go to Oregon. So all the close, because we didn't want to do shit in California. So we thought we were smart by sending people to go over there and buying these fucking laptops and we were selling them on Amazon. All that shit's tracked. Like all that shit's
100%, yeah.
Like,
wow.
we didn't like I don't fucking know this shit, dude. I'm thinking I'm smart in my uniform, like doing smart shit. Like I was an idiot, and we got away with it. I made a shitload of money.
Was it that typical sailor uniform that we have in mind, like the white shirt and
no? So we had camis. It's like the one that you see on that movie Pacific Rim, the fucking blue ones, the cami ones. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Question. I have a really big feeling that your wife didn't know about this.
Nobody knew about this.
That's crazy.
No. How do you know it's good. Let me tell you a funny story, right? So nobody knew about this shit. Like we were super low key. I said fuck nursing school because I was making so much money. So I got kicked out of nursing school because I failed my classes because I wasn't showing up. So like I'm almost in my last semester. I did really good in nursing school up until like my last semester. But Yeah, no. So we were low key. Nobody knew we were doing this shit. Like, my wife thought I was going, so when you're in nursing school, you can become a certified nursing assistant. So in my stupid ass addiction, I told my wife, "Hey, I got a job as a nursing assistant, and I'm working the weekends on overnights." And she's probably gonna kill me because I'm saying this on a podcast, but she thought I was going to work as a CNA to make some money for my family. No, I'm going with the homies out of state to fucking steal some shit.
That's fucking
That is
crazy.
nuts.
And I remember one Christmas,
And out of state, it wasn't even like you would go out of state to do this kind of stuff.
yeah, and Phoenix is only like fucking 8 hours away. Las Vegas is only like 4 or 5 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd go to like places that are close. Sometimes we'd do shit in San Diego if we were really desperate. But we're making fucking 15, 20 racks a month, dude. Probably more sometimes. But we're blowing it on dope. We're blowing it on girls. We don't know how to use our money. I'm supporting my household, but doing all this other stupid shit. Like, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking like I'm fucking God's greatest fucking criminal syndicate, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm fucking stupid, dumbass shit. Yeah, but nobody knew. And I remember one Christmas, we did the Walmart scam to buy Christmas toys. It's fucking... So, like, me and my two little partners from fucking nursing school, we go and hit, like, 6 Walmarts, and we get all these fucking toys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the same shit. We'd buy, like, identical sets of fucking toys, and then we do the same thing. You notice that Walmarts don't have the fucking, they don't have those exits anymore, right? And now everything's locked up. I think we were the first ones doing that shit. Or, like...
You were the cause of that?
I don't fucking know. I know we were... I know I was the cause of that in fucking Santa Fe Springs. Because I stole so much shit from that Walmart. And not to glorify it, I was in the middle of my addiction making inappropriate behavior. But, yeah, I remember one fucking Christmas, like, we got all these fucking toys, and my little girl's in this options preschool, like, low-income fucking, like, preschool, and, like, I'm showing up like fucking Santa Claus with all these fucking toys. That was all stolen shit, dude. Like, but I'm like, whole ego fucking, like, here's some fucking like the best toys that you could get like back then.
You're Oprah. You're
like fucking you can have a toy. You can have a fucking toy.
Yeah.
And like I had and everybody that one Christmas got TVs. I had a whole fucking room in my house, dude, of fucking stolen TVs.
Fuck. You're the rich.
And then,
rich dad
but I had a good I had a good cover up, right? And my wife got kind of pissed off.
Great cover up, man. Like,
yeah,
just the fact that you have the military tacked on to your background, it's like, not to say you cannot do things with impunity, but you could get out there, man. Who's gonna question?
Yeah, because I don't look like a criminal.
Yeah, so I can see how that can also lead you to more trouble, man.
It did. So luckily, I'm so glad I got arrested. But the other cover up that I had is my wife's best friend, her husband, sold shit at the swap meet. Like, he was a reseller at the swap meet. So I would tell my wife when she'd see I'd come with a whole fucking truckload of TVs. Oh, I just got it from Julian. Julian didn't know what he had no clue what the fuck I was doing. I was just using his name. Oh yeah, Julian hooked me up with the pallet. We're gonna get into reselling too.
Right.
So like nobody knew. Like when I got arrested, it was a shock. It was a really big shock to my family.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And I'm glad I got arrested because I would have never stopped this behavior. I actually kind of had already stopped it a little bit because I was like, all right, I got a year left in nursing school. Nursing school's 2 years. So in my third semester, I was kind of doing better a little bit already. But I was like, look, I'm about to graduate. Let me stop doing some of this shit. Like, I really, really slowed down. I had stacked some money. I could pay the bills. I already had, like, you know what? Like, I need to stop. I stopped, like, using drugs because the drugs was never the problem for me. The drugs was just kind of, like, making me feel like Superman. I probably have some ADHD, so it probably worked out for me. But, yeah, so, like, I really started slowing down and kind of focusing on school, but by then it was already too late. Like, I had already been missing class too much. But in that journey of slowing down, I didn't realize that they were surveilling us, like, for a really long time, for, like, months. They were watching us do what we were doing. Because a homie that caught the body, like, told us, like, I know these guys that are doing some fucking massive fraud shit. And, yeah, like, they were just letting us do our shit. And on my daughter's birthday, it was a few days, but we were celebrating my daughter's birthday. Her birthday was on the 9th. It was the Saturday coming up. And we're at Applebee's, and I get a call from my wife, Steele. Hey, dumbass, got all the police at the house. What the fuck did you do?
At this point, nobody has any idea.
Nobody has any
that you're
fucking
into
clue.
some illegal stuff.
Holy shit.
And I had like fucking $1,000 in my pocket. I gave my wife the feria. I was like, hey, Applebee's is about 2 miles from my house. Walk home. Left her with the kids. Here's $1,000. I'm out. And I got.
What is she saying this whole time? Like, what is happening? Like, why are you? Getting...
I didn't say shit. I was just like, look, the cops are here for me. I'm in some shit. I gotta go. Got in the car and fucking I started driving to Arizona. I was like, fuck it, I'm on the run. Like 4 hours into maybe 2 hours into me going fucking towards Arizona, my wife calls me. I don't know what the fuck you did. It is what it is. Come back, turn yourself in. We'll figure it out.
Wow, like that.
Yeah, I got a fucking...
That's scary.
My wife is a ride or die. I owe
nuts.
everything that I am to that woman. That woman endured my fucking military shit, my tuberculosis shit, my prison shit, my reentry, like everything. Dude, we've been married for 18 years. Like every experience of my life, she's been there and she's still there. Like to this day. She was a little mad that I came here because she has a OB appointment. I said, look, I already canceled on these guys. But yeah, Carisma, like, and she's smart too. When I went to prison, she said, fuck your packages, I'm going to school. Went and got a fucking degree at Cal State Fullerton, and she's a substitute special ed teacher for Orange County.
Fire.
That's amazing, man.
Fucking amazing, amazing fucking woman.
Yeah.
Like amazing fucking woman. But yeah, no. So like I just came back, I turned myself in, and I remember like the cops like, are you gonna tell me or you want me to show you? It's like I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And pulls out his phone and he has video surveillance of me. Loading
the uniform?
Yeah, with my uniform, like doing shit.
Oh man.
It is what it is. What happened was, I guess I was facing a federal case, but we didn't know my deal had actually that address in the back had a legitimate address. Like, so people just do sometimes the back house garage and like they just fucking build it up and you live in the back and nobody fucking thinks of it, right? But my wife still actually like registered it with the postal office and it was a righteous ADU and it was 13024 instead of 13022. The warrant was to 13022.
The back house.
The front house.
The front house. So
it was an unlawful search and seizure. So all that shit that they found, like that shit, I beat that Fed case.
Wow.
But I still had paraphernalia in my car. Like I had pictures of credit cards from places we hit. So I got sentenced in California, in California for only one charge of 530.5, which is misutilization of a credit card. I took a deal and they only gave me one in El Segundo. And then Orange County got me for a residential burglary and Norwalk got me for a residential burglary. So they maxed me out. First time ever getting in trouble. They gave me the fucking full term 6 years.
So they gave you 6 with 85?
They gave me 6 with half. And then I ended up going to fire camp and that's a whole different story. But I went from fire camp to the SHU.
Man, okay. So now we're getting to the second part of your journey. This is crazy.
Yeah, so I ended up in prison and like, I don't know the culture in LA.
That's what I was about to say. Like, this is like a
you show up to county, you
that has not
LA
been
County?
gangs.
LA County,
Oh,
homie.
so
Like
completely different from
Yeah.
experience.
Welcome to a wake up call.
This
Still
isn't
coming down off
gang
of
involved, nothing, bro. Just straight fresh dudes. Like throwing, somewhat you were still exposed to it because you're homies and shit. But still, like you can't really say you got put on game. Before you jumped in.
No, I show up to fucking 3200, in fucking, in LA County jail, and I remember there's the soda machines, and like I guess the llavero for the homies. Like now I know, right? Because I learned really good. He's like, hey, I need your paperwork, and where you from? And for me, I don't know why I said this. Oh, soy de Mexico, Tijuana. And like that was like, and he's like, oh, paisas are like around the corner, so you walk around, and there's like this OG fucking with the typical fucking paisa, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, ¿dónde eres? I was like, oh, no, pues, Tijuana, ¿para qué te torcieron? Oh, robé unas pinches casas, whatever. He's like, hey, tráeme tu papeleo. Showed him my fucking little paperwork and shit. Like the intake paperwork. And that was the journey. Like from there, I was there for like, my first fucking night, dude. I'll never forget this shit. I was on the top bunk and the paisa, like the one that had like the dorm for the paisas, he's like, he just said Tijuas, like that's what he called me. Hey, Tijuas. He's like, quédate en tu raca, van a sacar a alguien. I don't know what that fucking meant.
First night?
First night.
You have to experience that?
I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what do you mean? He was cool, right? Because he knew I was like fucking fresh. I'm not from this fucking world. There was a chomo in the fucking dorm.
A chomo.
Yeah.
It's a chomo.
Child.
A child molester.
Oh shit! I didn't know.
I didn't know that for a long time, and then same thing. Once you go through it, I'm like child.
Yeah, that OG, like the OG paisa was like, hey, just stay on your rack. Van a sacar a alguien. I didn't even know what that meant. Like, what does that mean, right?
Nothing at all. Like nothing. Like
I had no concept.
I guess that means something bad or not.
I just for me, I was like, all right, I'm gonna fucking stay on my rack. Like if you tell,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I'm like, dude, I'm small. I'm always conscious. I'm fucking 5'3". Like I'm chubby as fuck now. I'm 220. Like, but I'm small. Like back then, I was probably like a little bit like fucking doped out. I was probably like 5'4", maybe like fucking 120, 130 wet.
Oh my god.
Skinny as fuck.
Yeah.
So I'm conscious of my size. So my strength is my mind. Like I'm gonna bring value that way. So I was like, you know what? He told me to fucking sit here. I know how to follow orders, military minded, right? Probably like fucking, like hour back passes by. This is late at night. It's like fucking 9, 10 at night. Fucking lights go out. As soon as the lights go out, all I hear is like, I'll never forget it. Fucking just imprinted on my head. It's like, homies, dale gas. And I just start
Out of nowhere.
like silent.
Silent.
And it's funny because that's one of the few times where I see
man.
like the blacks, the whites, and the Mexicans like unify for a minute. You never see that shit. And then the next day when they explained it to me, I was like, oh fuck, like that's the one thing we don't fuck around in here. Right? And like from the corner, from the showers, they stomped this dude out. And like I remember like he's fucking crawling through my fucking right in front of my bunk, and the guy that was under me got up and just fucking had his boots on, just kicked him, and I just see fucking teeth flying out. And I was just like, coming from the military, shit like that doesn't really fuck you with you anymore. But still, I was like, what the fuck did I just get into? I was like, I was like, fuck.
Did the thought dawn on you that holy shit, this isn't the military? I'm somewhere else?
Yeah. This was like
or maybe it was.
No.
the
This was
same.
a whole
Okay.
different level of shit. Like the military was cakewalk to prison. Like it was just like what the fuck. And then I remember like he's fucking like he's walking and people are just fucking getting off their bunks and kicking him, punching him. Like everybody's just fucking him up. All races just fucking him up. And I was like, where's the fucking cops? Like, where's the fucking cops at?
Right.
Like, and this is going on for like 5-10 minutes. And then he fucking finally gets to the fucking door and like his covered in blood and his I could just see his hands just fucking like, when like the blood like on
It's greasy.
Scary
it's
movie
grease,
or
like all just
something,
fucking. And then the fucking cops come in and they fucking throw the pepper balls, like fucking just get all gassed and like the fucking spray. I just remember fucking like that just reminded me of the military. Like I knew how just covered my like it just the same burn. That was the same burn from when you go through OC training in the military. I was like fucking coughing and it's a closed fucking space and but it was just fucking like they ran in, they rushed everybody, get on the ground, we're all on our fucking bunks. And now I understood why he told me to fucking stay on my bunk. Because when the cops come in, like if you're on your bunk, you're not gonna catch like the whole time. Because they got cameras and everything there. So they like took out half the dorm, got taken out. And for me, I stayed in the dorm. And like a couple days later, they sent me out to fucking Wayside, to fucking 613, dorm 613 in Wayside. And
Was
then
that Supermax or something?
Supermax. And then from there, like they found out I was a veteran, so they sent me over to the veterans dorm. But then when I got to the veterans dorm, a WheeLock came through like through the doors and then said, anybody who's active or GP, you gotta fucking take off and get out of that dorm, because you're not allowed to be on that dorm. So fucking there we go again. I'm like fucking I took off on my bunkie.
Did he know?
Huh? No, like it's like
Just because he might have the
Damn.
same intention, like let's just both fight so we can go back.
yeah,
to,
no, it was just like whatever. It's like he kind of had a feeling, so I didn't hit him that hard, but I was just like four Hispanics in that dorm. We just fucking took off on people, and then I went to the 900s. I was in 900 for like a week, and then they put me in fucking 818, and I fucking went to prison. My shit was really quick, so they did something called EDP, expedited disposition processing, right? Like really quick, like within like a month, I was fucking already on the bus catching it to Delano.
So 18 months worth of crime is summed up in a month.
In a month.
That's all it took.
Yeah.
Man.
And so now some of the work that I do, why I'm so passionate about advocacy and veterans' rights, and why I'm on this lived advisory committee for military veterans of Fresno County. There's a group of us 5 of us are all in graduate school or have been incarcerated and are veterans most of us are in graduate school. One girl is not in graduate school, but all of us have kind of entered like this advocacy space, because I didn't discover this till about 3 years into my fucking prison sentence, that there's a penal code called Penal Code 1170.9, which states that if you could correlate your military service to the causative factor of your crime, It is a mitigating circumstance, and you go to treatment over incarceration. Imagine being fucking 3 years in prison
And finding that
and
out.
finding out like you could have fucking done 90 days and fucking 90 days to 100, maybe at the dom. But that was my journey was prison. I needed to grow the fuck up, you know, and I ended up going to fucking, you know, going to Delano, get the fucking clecha. And for me, knowing that I was small, I went fucking balls to the walls with the paisas, you know, like, my paisas are my fucking people. The homies aren't gonna put us down. I fucking speak English. I'm gonna fucking do it for the raza. And just fucking went balls to the wall. Like, I fucking was like doing all the fucking, the removals and fucking, I caught a bunch of time in prison. I ended up catching an extra 4 years.
Damn.
Really?
Yeah, but because I found out about that penal code, I was able to like seek some advocacy. But you know, we'll go back a little bit. But what happened is, you know, went to Delano, fucking really assimilated into that fucking world, like that world. Everybody's working out, really fucking organized. Same thing as the military. I just fucking really fucking. I went there.
How was the easing off the drugs for you at that?
Oh, that was rough, dude. That was rough.
So once you hit state prison, Delano, which is reception,
Yeah, so
were you already kind of good?
Yeah,
Filtered out,
I
no
was kind
more?
of good. But when I really felt off the drugs, was I was in the 900s.
Okay.
Because I think I was still a little bit like in the shock factor, and sitting down. Let me just fucking.
Yeah.
Actually, this is good news, but I'll turn it off. My homie, he just got a job at the VA, so he's really happy. But
that's good.
Okay.
yeah, it's hard to get a job at the VA. I'll talk about that. But sitting in the 900s by myself and being hungry and having a juke ball, fucking big old ball of nastiness, is when I realized, damn, I'm going to prison. And I went back into my automatic programming. Check the fuck out. That's always been my fucking greatest supporter and greatest enemy.
Correct.
It has, and that's it. And there's a black dude who told me I don't remember where I ran to him in prison, but a black homie told me, when you're in prison, you turn off your street switch. You ain't no longer on the streets. It's like a light switch. The streets don't matter. You're in here, and that's it. And I've always thought about that. Like, that's how, when I dissociate, switch gets turned off. Let's fucking survive. So I really assimilated it, and I found my new family in Paisas, right? And I didn't have a lot of support from my family because she wasn't working, you know? And that was like, that really fucking hurt me. Like, I really left her in a really fucked up position, you know?
How much time did you get sentenced to?
6 years.
6 years.
I didn't know about fire camp or none of that. So like, I was like, oh shit, I'm going to prison for 6 years, right? Once I got to Delano, went to committee and figured out that I could do like 2 off the 6. I was like, all right, I'll go to fire camp. But, you know, as a part of the culture, like of that incessant need of belonging, right? Like, I did drugs in fucking Delano, did fucking drugs in fire camp, well, drugs in Jamestown, drugs in fire camp, got into like selling some drugs in prison and doing this, just really this inappropriate behavior, but it was necessary. It was the result of me trying to survive in that environment, right? So this is the politics. I'm pretty smart. I'm gonna figure out the politics, and we're gonna fucking exploit them for my use. And actually, that I learned that really quickly in fucking in Supermax, because I didn't realize I landed in the dorm that was the White House, right? You know, the White House is where the corner man is, right? And he saw that I was smart, and he's like, hey, look, I know you don't got a lot of comida. If you do my GED paperwork, I got you.
Really? Like,
Crazy,
basically, if
huh?
you do my homework type shit.
Yeah. So like, and then next thing you know, I'm doing all the homies fucking GED packets, you know, and you know, I'm coming off fucking nursing school, you know, I'm still coming down, but you know, so like, and I still had a little bit of dope from them, so that's why I didn't really feel it till I was in the fucking 900s, right? But like, I remember like I fucking did his first packet, and he had a fucking a brand new set of Crispies. Put this shit on Do Not Disturb.
Blues, huh?
But yeah, and I was like, oh shit, like this is different, you know. And I had like, you know, I had some food, you know, because my wife couldn't send me money, right? So like, but, and then he realized I was good with the GD packets, and next thing you know, he's like, hey, can you write small? And I can write really small. He's like, hey man, I need you to put all these little numbers on this, and it's all the green dots. And I started figuring out, like, you know, I was only there for like a few weeks, but I figured out really quick, like, why are they always sending food packets when they go to court? Why is all these movements? And he was from Alabama, Canoga. I don't know if-
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the valley. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and but he really like gave me like my first introduction into how it works. Like he taught me like the hierarchy. He's like, look, this is how it works. This is why we write the numbers down. When you guys go to canteen, this is why you pay his taxes. And he kind of broke it down and shit. And I started learning that. And when I got to Delano, I figured out like, you know, when somebody comes from county, they bring some shit with them. And I started figuring out kind of how everything worked. And then I started using my intelligence to be able to figure out how to make more money. Started doing legal paperwork, GED paperwork, writing people's papers, and that became kind of my hustle, right?
Did you start helping people out with like their hearings, with probation or for the PO hearings, or like for
I started. I started.
That we're gonna.
Yeah, I started doing that in Folsom, right? In Folsom, but like I really learned that in the whole. But I'll give you a really quick recap of what happened to me in prison. So Delano ended up in Jamestown, and then in Jamestown, I knew I was going. I knew I was going to fire camp, but I was stuck in Jamestown for a few months, and I couldn't figure out why I was fucking stuck in Jamestown.
Mm-hmm. And real quick for the Jamestown, if I'm not you, I've never been in Jamestown, but you can maybe correct me. Jamestown is like the reception center for fire camps.
Yeah.
So they're like the hub of
Yeah.
people that get accepted into like the fire camp program. They go to Jamestown, and it's like they get filtered out. You there a couple. You're only supposed to be there. How many?
Yeah, like
months?
a few months. You do fire training. You work out. You do your PFTs. They go to like a firefighter school, and they teach you how to be a fucking wildland firefighter for a few weeks. Brutal fucking shit. Oh my god, I remember that.
Really, the training?
Yeah,
is
some fucking
brutal?
fucked up ass training.
Worse than the military?
Oh, fucking 10 times worse.
No
Boot-
way.
Boot camp was,
See, that
dude.
is crazy.
Boot camp was cake. I was in the Navy. You know, maybe if I was in Marine Corps boot camp, it would have been different. But no, fuck no. Those hikes were vicious. You know, those hikes, and even though we were doing burpees and shit, those hikes were vicious.
It's different. Yeah.
It's different. And then the boots are brand new, and your feet are all fucked up. And the thing is that like, when you're in fire camp, you're still in prison, so you still got to follow the prison politics. So just because you go to fucking fire school and you do hikes, you got to still come back and do your burpees. You can't come back and just kick it on your bunk and be like, I'm going to take a nap after I did this fucking long-ass hike. No, you fucking, if you got gallo, you got gallo. You got it is what it is. So that's what made it harder, right? Because you're like navigating prison, but like in firefighter school, it was a weird dynamic. But I was stuck, and I didn't realize that Orange County, these motherfuckers came and got me in fucking Jamestown. They came and
picked up a case.
yeah. So I didn't realize it because I got arrested for the LA case. I didn't when you intake, you do like your DNA, your fingerprints, and all that shit. My fingerprints popped up for an Orange County residential burglary. So these motherfuckers brought me all the way back down to Orange County, and the judge was a dick. He's like, "You're already in prison. You got to strike for your fucking for your residential burglary. I'm gonna fucking strike you out. I'm gonna fucking give you 20 years." I was all fucking scared. My wife was crying. She came to visit me. That was one of the very few visits I got in prison. And yeah, I was fucking like, these motherfuckers came and got me. He was wrong. He could only give me a concurrent sentence because it happened before the LA case. It was weird. So the Orange County crime occurred before the LA crime, but I got arrested for the LA crime because I got caught for it. So when I went back to Orange County, you can't give somebody more like a lot of time for a crime that happened before your controlling offense. So they just gave me 2 years concurrent. It didn't impact my sentence at all. And the only good thing that came out of it was I was able to see my family because I was in Theo Lacey. But Theo Lacey, Orange County sheriffs, those are fucking some dicks, dude. That's a fucked up ass fucking. That county jail's, it's nicer than LA County, but it's worse because I got beat up by the cops there because I tried to take a milk out.
As a like trustee or something?
I know it was one of the Baisa's birthdays, so we all were taking like a little fucking milk, and somebody's taking like we're gonna make him a little cake, you know, something simple. Then the fucking cop, I remember they fucking slammed me, fucking opened the carton and poured the fucking carton there, and I was like, man, So Orange County's fucked up. So, anyways, go back to Jamestown, go through the firefighter training, and then I land in Growlersburg Fire Camp, and it was fucking party central, dude. There's no gates. Like it was flooded with drugs and with cell phones. I'm not a good criminal, dude. I got 4 115s for cell phones in like 2 months.
Wait, what do you mean there was no gates?
Yeah, so fire camp is open. It's completely open.
Oh, I see. Okay, I get what you're saying. Because obviously it's the forest.
Yeah, you're in cabins. You're like in these fucking like you're in cabins. So it's a fire crew. So like I was in crew 2. Shout out to crew 2 on the homies that are doing good now, especially Jaime, who's fucking getting his master's out in Kansas.
Nice.
But I think it's Kansas. But yeah, so like you're in a fucking dorm, dude. Like literally, like Deer come up to your fucking door and you're feeding them. Like, it's just a party.
Really, man.
Everybody's
that's fucking
high.
amazing.
Everybody's doing stupid shit. And for me, once again, my fucking Achilles heel, I wanted to be accepted. So, like, I was fucking, you know, like, coordinating how to get fucking tobacco and dope onto the yard and, like, doing stupid shit.
Did
But,
you start getting high again?
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
of course. Like, I was still in the middle. Like, I didn't fucking have no coping skills. Yeah, it was all bad.
Why do you think that is, though? Was it
'Cause
just accessibility was a factor?
Yeah,
Just-
it's
that's the-
everybody's doing it, and for me, like, one thing that I understand now in my own trauma is that my dad never told me he fucking loved me. My dad never fucking accepted me. Even when I got into fucking this doctorate, when I got into my master's, when I got into the Navy, my dad was never fucking proud of me. Nobody's ever been fucking proud of me for doing something good in life. No. So in my mind, I've always wanted to be a part of something and be accepted and be like, somebody's gonna like me for who I am, right? Always seeking this external validation. And I'm learning that I don't have to have that external validation anymore. That it's like I'm good enough, right? I'm a good enough person, and I survived an environment where I was designed not to survive, right? I was supposed to, you know, being GP, I was supposed to be in prison a long time, you know, fucking going in the military. Maybe if I would have gone on deployment, I would have got fucking killed or something. Or maybe if I would have stayed in Tucson, I would have ended up in the cartels. So, like, I'm realizing that now. I'm understanding that now. But, yeah, it's just this fucking need of, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do the most dope, be the best cook, be the best firefighter. Like, all because I wanted to the outside to make the inside feel good, because I've been so fucking checked out that I don't even know what the fuck's going on the inside. And I probably have some underlying fucking mental health issues, PTSD, fucking probably some genetic issues from my mom, maybe some bipolar or schizophrenia. Who the fuck knows? I'm not diagnosed anymore, but like back then, like I didn't, like who knows what the, like I never really realized what the fuck was going on. So like I fucking got kicked out of fire camp because I got caught with so many cell phones. So in prison, there's a point system, right? You can be in fire camp with 30 points, right? That's your like security level. If you go above 30 points, then you got to go back to a regular prison because now you're level fucking 3. Right, so I was like level 1 points. I think I went to camp with like 18 points, and I got fucking 4 cell phone write-ups, which each write-up is like, I think it was 4-6 points. But I basically, on my 4th phone, I got myself pointed out. Went back to Jamestown, and I caught a, like 2 weeks in Jamestown, I caught a fucking our dorm got raided, and I was selling dope on the yard, and I got caught with fucking dope, and they charged me with distribution. But the reason why that happened was, the reason why we got raided is because we had to go on a mission. So we didn't get caught for the mission. But they knew that the people that did that mission were from that dorm, so they were looking for the weapon. So we had to take somebody off the yard. Luckily, we did it behind the stairs, so I didn't get in trouble. But when they raided that dorm, like we didn't expect it. And I had a little baggie with like 0.002 of meth on top of my fucking locker, and your lockers are assigned. And when I went back in the back, they were like, if you debrief and you tell us where you got the dope from, you'll just go back to the yard. But I said, no, fucking chales. I was really about the ideology of being a paisa, and I said, no, fuck it, give me the time. I'll take the 4 years. Have a nice fucking day. And they gave me the fucking 4 years. They fucking took me to. So they ended up
4 years, one shot, just like that.
Yeah. So they gave me a A1 offense for distribution. They gave me a shoe in the hole, so I did a year in Jamestown on the level 3, which is a PC yard, but they have like an actual fucking little mini fucking hole where you're there. Like there was because they didn't want to transport us, but I was supposed to go to Tehachapi for a year, but I stayed in the hole for a year, and that's where my life changed. That hole. That was the first time I was surrounded by lifers, because there's no lifers on a fire camp. That's the first time people really cared for me as a person, not for what I could bring to the paisas or what I could do, but the homie was like, hey, dumbass, what are you doing back here?
Yeah.
Like, what? And there was a lot of homies that got bound down from high desert that were in that hole. So most of them were homies that had fucking 10, 20, 30, 40 years in prison. And my neighbors, one was from Harpies and one was from Escodiablos. Man, that homie from fucking Harpies, he was like 40. And he'd been down like fucking 20 years. And they caught a body, him and his celly caught a body up in high desert. Man, those are some fucking, the most righteous, loyal fucking, and I still talk to them. People that cared for me. He's like, hey, look, You're a paisa, you fucking got like a little bit of time, like you're a fucking pendejo, like you ain't doing dope back here. You're reading and working out and shut the fuck up. And if something happens, if you want to go PC, there's a fucking door. Go to the fucking PC yard. If not, you're gonna fucking figure some shit out. Program time, motherfucker. And like just through through the vent conversations, I got saved. Like I found sobriety. I found AA books that were on the fucking cart, you know, and I found, you know, I had faith. I was working in the chapel. I'm in Jamestown. Like when I came back, I got a little job as a Catholic cleric. So I thought faith has always been a good part of my life, but that was the first time where like you really like I was single cell, where you really start like, holy, month 1, month 2 goes by and you're still kind of in your own fucking head, and then you start realizing like, damn, is this the fucking life that I want? Is this like, you know, and that's when I started really using my paralegal skills to like start challenging like the fucking shoe offense, start challenging like doing habeases and figuring out like the law and going to little cages and really learning like prison law, and started helping out a lot of the homies back there and doing all the paperwork. But that really was like a rude awakening. You got these motherfuckers that are killers, that people think they're soulless, that they don't give a fuck about nobody, yet they cared about me. They cared enough about me that they didn't allow me to do drugs back in the hole. Because there was a lot of drugs. There was a cell phone back there. There was drugs. A lot of them were doing fucking Suboxone. But I wasn't fucking allowed. And when I really saw that they cared, I got really good at fishing, and I was in a corner cell. In the corner cell, I could fish to both tiers. And they kind of taught me how to do the line. Through the vents, they were fucking educating me how to break down the sheet. Where I really saw that they cared about me was I had to get an R from one side to the other side. The R is a syringe, the heroin syringe. It's not really like a syringe, but it's like a little rig to do dope. And when you fish, like, they'll tell you, like, boom, the package came to my cell, and they're like, hey, you got fucking, you know, hey, homies, I got 6 times, you know, because there's like 6 little things attached to it. So there's 6 times got to my fucking door. And I said, yeah, firme 6 times, but there was actually 7 things on the line. The 7th thing was the R. And the homies from upstairs said, hey, Tijuas, there's 7 things on the fucking line. The R got stuck on the edge of my door. The cop was walking. Every fucking cell that was near me was throwing their fucking lines, trying to get that shit away from my door. Because if you catch that, it's a gang of time. It's a fucking another charge. That was a life-changing moment right there.
So because there's a limited amount, six stuff on the lines.
But there was really 7.
But there was really 7. That last one, you got caught up.
Yeah.
That's fucking nuts.
You end up getting caught?
No, I didn't. And luckily, we were able to fucking, one of the homies caught it. He was able to fucking grab it because he had like a little fucking staple on his thing, and he was able to pull it. My neighbor was able to pull it into a cell.
Oh, man.
But that right there is just like, it was fucking funny because they're all screaming through the doors, and the cops are wondering why the fuck we're screaming. They're like, yeah, like, because they're the little fucking windows. Like the homie over here, he's like, all right, fucking shorty, like, hey, throw it to your left more. No, fucking, and like, throw it to your right. Like, and then the homies were trying to come because we figured out how to fucking fish from the top. And that's the first time in my life I really felt that somebody cared for me.
Mm.
They had no incentive to care for me. And that was a changing moment. And it's funny because, you know, I've always had a wonderful wife, but I never realized how much she cared for me. You know, and back there, like, through those experiences, I realized, like, damn, like, this whole time I think that nobody cares about me, but the reality is I have that one person still writing me letters in prison and sending me pictures, and I really started changing as a human being back there. And that year was over, I ended up in Folsom State Prison, and I just started hanging out with a lot of lifers, old Folsom, and that was a programmer's yard. Like, everybody was ready, like, to go home, and the laws were changing a little bit back in 2017, 2018. People were going home now, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't like the old fucking Governor Brown fucking thing, like you're going home in a pine box. So, like, you had all these programs starting on the yard, like, you know, fucking relapse prevention, fucking Toastmasters, Bridges to Life, like, all these self-help groups that I had a date. I was going home no matter what, right? And But I started participating in these groups and really figuring out, like, damn, I am a fucking drug addict. I do have a problem. Like, I never saw drugs as a problem because I didn't go to prison for drugs, right? For me, it's just like, oh, I'm just doing it. Like, I never was that drug addict that fucking, like, went, like, crazy. Like, for me, like, I always controlled my meth use. Like, I knew, like, I would do a line after school instead of before school, so I wouldn't go loaded to school. I would do a line to get balls to go do crime, so I would have the confidence at Walmart. You know, like, it was never, like, a problem for me. But it was a problem.
Do you think that was just something you were telling yourself? Like,
Oh, of course.
I managed it. I'm cool.
Yeah,
I
of course it is. You know how it is. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I'm in prison, homie. Like, because of drugs. Like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like, you're an idiot. But yeah, Folsom really changed my life. I started going to school. Got a couple associate's degrees. Started doing all the classes. Right there, when you got to Folsom, they started doing what's called RAC classes, Rehabilitation Achievement Credits. So every 52 hours of like these classes you did, you got a week off. So I was a motherfucker, like,
Nice.
doing every fucking class you can think of, right? And because I worked in the Catholic Church, well, I find that Folsom was a very interesting place to land, because I'm really Catholic. I really believe in God. I have a really deep Catholic faith. It's one of the few churches that has a righteous Catholic church, like a real fucking right. It's called the Greystone Chapel, but it was a real fucking Catholic church that was built on old Folsom. Most places, when you go to church, you know, even in LA County or Jamestown or some of the jails, you go to a room and that room becomes a church. But there was a priest there. Most prisons don't have a fucking priest on staff. Father Gomez, and talking to him and getting into my faith, going to school, going to all these classes and seeing all these lifers, just seeing their change really motivated me to fucking change my life. I did have like an ulterior motive because I wanted to go home, so I'm doing all these classes. But the byproduct of that was that I found that little lost kid that I never knew was there. And that's when I started realizing, like, fuck, man, like, I really don't remember my childhood. Like, why don't I remember my childhood? Like, why don't I remember all these problems? Like, really starting to understand it. And so homie from El Monte Flores, Flaco, good friend of mine, we had a falling out a few months ago. Really difficult situation. There was a homie in the Coastline College clerk, and he had a similar case that I had. He caught a shoot term for distribution on a little bit of a dope, and he was going through his habeas, and his habeas got granted. It got reduced to possession instead of distribution, and he was a lifer, but it took a gang of time off, right? So and then this dude did my habeas, and I got some time off, so I was going home a lot quicker. And then I discovered, because there was a veterans group there, that a social worker came to the prison and said, hey, like, you're eligible for like these penal codes. You can go home early, right? Because my release date was June 19th of 2024. But through these reliefs, I did those 2 habeases. I was able to come home on June 14th of 2019. So almost 4 years early. But my release wasn't as easy as you would think, right? Like, I started finding myself. I found sobriety, right? I've been in recovery probably 8-9 years. I don't really do the AA stuff. For me, it's just I made a choice. I don't do drugs because drugs fuck up my life. I don't do drugs not because they fuck up my life, but I don't do drugs because I don't want to harm my own life or others' lives, because prison taught me that we always have a clock. There's a finite end date to prison, finite end date to life. I don't want to waste
100%,
life anymore. Like, I already wasted enough life. Not only my life, but my kids' lives. Like, we haven't even got into that. Like, the collateral damage of my fucking children by not having a dad for 5 years. And this is where I'll talk about one of the most painful experiences. And I just learned this a few months ago. So I did everything, right? I found myself, connected with the little boy that was lost, did all these fucking classes, and I got the fucking habeas. I fucking beat the system, right? I'm fucking won in the courts. Who wins in the fucking courts on a habeas, right? I'm walking out of Folsom State Prison. I gave all my shit away to everybody. You know the process, right? Give your shit away to everybody. On October 15th of 2018, walking out the west gate of fucking Folsom State Prison. I see my wife. I see my kids. One of the fucking happiest days of my fucking life. I did it. I'm coming home, and I'm coming home years early, right? And the fucking huras, I hear these steps coming back. And they pulled me back to prison and said my habeas was bullshit. And I wasn't going home.
So you got a chance to see your family?
Yeah, like I'm walking out the gate fucking in civilian clothes.
You're literally...
So you're done. You're out.
Like,
You're
you're walking
literally-
out the fucking door.
I've heard stories of that, but like during processing or something, or while you're
No.
sitting in the tank to get
Right.
processed out before you even get your street clothes.
I got tackled to the ground.
Was it? Did you know what happened? Was it a
No,
walkie-talkie?
I didn't know.
Did you hear? Like,
no, I
hey,
just heard footsteps, and they're like, and they said your habeas is not valid. You still have to do your prison sentence.
What?
So you were like foot out in the street, about to hug your people or run over there.
Yeah,
or
no,
whatever?
I was seeing them. They were like kind of far because
Okay.
like so
Ah,
I saw
man,
because
still
what you
very
do
hurtful
is you
to
get in
experience.
a van, right? So I was getting on the van and they opened the gate and I could see them through the van. So they were still a little bit far away, but I could see them and
Man.
That's trauma on both sides.
And-
like,
and-
Yeah,
like,
dude.
big.
I didn't realize, like, because I have a really tough relationship with my fucking 15-year-old son. My fucking son doesn't talk to me sometimes. And just because I'm like that, I didn't realize that the way I was parenting my son was a way out of trauma. I was parenting out of trauma. Like, I want to be really fucking controlling of my son so he doesn't have to go through what I went through. The reality is, this kid needs a lot of fucking love. Because I didn't realize that my son was telling all his fucking friends at elementary school that I really do have a dad. And he's coming home tomorrow. And he didn't come home. And he's really pissed off at me.
Like, I want to say something, but I hope you don't take it in the wrong way in any way. But I want to put out, it's crazy because your story growing up, your dad was an alcoholic. Eventually, well, now he's into meth, but was an alcoholic, so he still had some kind of substance abuse, or he was still abusing something. And there were certain ways he was acting, and he wasn't there all the time. I see this resemblance as you as a father in early stages. Obviously not now. I know now is way different, but in those early stages, before when you were doing all this, you were an addict too. You were abusing something as well.
Yeah, of course.
And then you weren't in your son's life.
Yeah, and then being in the military, going back and forth on underways and not being home is a part of that lifestyle too, right? So like, I'm learning now, and today you're seeing me go. You're seeing me in a space of transition.
Yeah.
Because I've had a really difficult relationship with my kids these past 5 years. Not only because I'm trying to find my new self with all this new knowledge. I'm trying to make a name for myself, and like repair those damages of incarceration. Because I went balls to the wall. Like, I'm gonna be the best fucking student, the best fucking businessman, the best everything. Because I was looking to repair that incarceration.
Yeah.
But there's collateral damages, right? When you're a parent. Like, my son's like, Dad, you're always on the phone, you're always working, you're always in school. When are you gonna come play with me? And now we're at that point where now it's a little too late. Because now I realize, like, fuck, man, like, I didn't give him the dad he was dreaming for. I was so focused on giving my family this economic stability, which was completely fucking useless. They needed the love stability. But remember, I'm a kid still healing. I'm a kid still disassociating because, and still dealing with acceptance issues. And that's that fucking thing that always gets me, right? Now, I'm somebody who's formally incarcerated in a society who's designed to reject my identity of who I am. Now, I'm very lucky because I'm a veteran and I can hide that identity and I can weaponize it, right? And that's where it shifts, right? But coming back home is hard, especially for somebody who has kids. And I went to fucking prison on my daughter's birthday. Imagine how pissed off she is.
Right.
My 17-year-old, our relationship is getting better, but I can't not do this podcast and not be honest that I haven't been the best husband and the best dad that I could be coming back home. Because even though I knew I was healing, I wasn't still fully healed, and I'm still healing, right? And it's a cliche statement, but hurt people, and healed people, heal people.
I like that second part. You hear the first part a lot, but you don't hear the second part. The heal people.
Yeah, and there's a guy named Ernesto. He's been home. I went to this thing called Center for Counsel. It was a Los Angeles Reentry Collaborative. I'll tell you guys a little bit about. You can join that. The Los Angeles Reentry Collaborative. All these nonprofits get together, and they do this thing called counsel. And there's this guy. He was like the nicest fucking dressed homie there. Got tattoos, right? Got the big dress on the back of his head. You can tell his hair's still coming through. Dude, fucking super dressed, right? He's been home 19 months. But
what was the name again?
Huh?
What was the name again? His name again?
Ernesto.
We had him on the podcast. No, or am I tripping?
No, you're thinking about Ernesto. Oh, shit.
He works at JVS?
No. This guy's different. He works for Healing Center Dialogue.
It could be him.
Hey, Ernesto, he was
tattoo back in the head.
F?
Same thing from Florence.
I don't know if he's in
We'll
Florida.
check it up, but
Yeah, we'll look it up. I don't know, but he's been home.
yeah. Oh no. I'm just saying because it's interesting. Like he whatever. Yeah. Like it sounds like the same
He'd been
profile,
home-
and we interviewed him not too long.
Yeah, he's been home 19 months.
Sound and the time
Sounds like
lapse
timeline,
sounds about
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
too.
he does a lot of he goes in prisons and like really works on trauma and stuff like that. Might be the
Could
same
be,
guy.
yeah.
But he's the one that said that, but he's been home 19 months. But he's really done I think he did like 20 years. He really did the fucking work where he walks into a room and his energy's so positive. It really caught me off guard. Cause like when you see him, you'd think he'd be home fucking 10 years. And when he told us, I was like, no, I've only been home for fucking 19 months. And I was like, hey, homie, like, how did you get to this space? And he's like, through my organization. My title is Wounded Healer.
That's some crazy ass title, bro.
Like, I was like, damn, homie, like, you fucking really impacted me, you know?
That's on the resume, Wounded Healer?
That's like his business card says Wounded Healer.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
And I love the fact that it just really highlights the mental health aspect that hasn't probably been highlighted. You know,
You're right,
just
yeah.
knowing that you're putting titles as opposed to peer support specialist or primarily focused on a job. This is a whole different lane now that it's being carved out by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. Some of the work that he's doing, I got to reach out to him because I just, you can see people who have really healed, right? You know, we talked about, like me doing the crazy funny stories of going to Walmart and wearing my military uniform and stealing. But like the reality is I really understood that I had this illusion because it was a credit card or because it was a corporation that there was no human being behind that. But identity theft really fucking impacts people. You really destroy fucking people's lives. And it's really hard to fucking come back from that. So I've apologized to my victims and I made sure I paid back my restitution. And I live this life the best that I can, even though with my trauma, because it would be a fucking embarrassment and it would be fucking pathetic to not do good when I did so bad for them. Like, I understand that I went and paid my sentence, but I'm never going to change the scars and traumas of them being violated, of somebody going into their house and fucking up their sacred space. I didn't understand that till I went through a program called Bridges to Life, and there was a lady sitting there, and it's called like a victim offender dialogue, and she's talking about somebody going into her house, and how violated she felt. But what was weird about that story was that, and it gets me all the time, she's like, I was really mad they took away my son's SpongeBob TV. Like, that's the simplicity. She was, like, the little TVs that look like a SpongeBob, and she has a picture of it now, where you put the cassette in, like the TVs that used to
That's
have.
crazy. I remember that.
Like
They had
kid
the
TVs.
Yeah.
I remember that.
But it's like, fuck, man. And she's crying because she's telling us, like, she's opening her story, like, that's what you did as a fucking thief. That's what you fucking did to somebody. And I told you earlier off camera, like, I was so excited to get my son a fucking stolen Game Boy, and I didn't realize I fucking hurt a little boy's fucking dream. That's not okay. It doesn't matter that I have the excuses of being under drugs or the trauma from the military. I still made that choice. And that's something that I'm very fundamentally different about my community. We got to shift from this mentality of victimization and blame the system or blame the conditions that were the causative factors for our actions. Because at the end of the day, everybody's known since the 90s that LA County's fucked up. Everybody's known since the 80s that this state breaks you off. And for whatever reasons that we have that leads us to the gangs or to the deviant behavior, we have to take ownership of the actions and the decisions that we made. You can't blame the system all the time because there's homies in South Central or these hoods that ended up in prison, but there's also homies that came from these hoods that are in fucking really good college programs. And we forget about that component, that they came from same fucked up backgrounds, but they're doing good. And I can give you an example of my little brother, Aaron. He didn't go to prison. He went and got a master's, and he came from the same fucked up psychological background that I came from, and probably a little bit worse. So we have different motivations. Like, we're going to consider that, there's some social economic factors, maybe some geographical issues. And we look at it from an anthropological perspective. Yeah, systems are designed to marginalize people, but as people, we live in a society where even with all the conditions that I have as a formerly incarcerated person, I was able to use that identity and that system to elevate myself. Even though I have those conditions that in my mind I thought that I couldn't be more than a hamburger flipper or somebody who goes to the staffing
They were
agency.
more of a hindrance, but
Yeah.
you've seen past that same thing that I did. I'm like, no, I'm going to use this to my advantage.
Yeah.
Right.
It's actually a good thing in this sense. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah, it
weather
is.
the storm, and you get to, as long as you know how to, analyze your situation and put it to play, you come out with some good things from it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's and I'm through therapy that I've learned that through vulnerability and through openness, then you can really see the impact of testimony, like you said.
Perfect way to
Understand.
put it.
Yeah, understanding that, I want to be that wounded healer for my son, and I want to love Max, and I want him to look at me like a dad, not with the face of disgust, because I'm the motherfucker that has been a militant in his fucking household, right? When in my mind I had this skewed mentality of like, I'm gonna fucking make sure you follow rules, because I'm so traumatized that when I didn't follow rules, I ended up in prison. So I became this fucking dictator father out of fear, when in reality, love was the solution. And that's the
Crazy realization there, huh?
yeah, and it's fucking painful, because that's what I was talking to my wife last night about. Like, I want to make sure that when I speak to them, why I reached out to answer your question is that we have to acknowledge our flaws and be okay with being honest about coming from fucked up situations.
Hello.
And I think about that in these spaces, right? Because a lot of times, especially we talked about ARC, we see that we want to do good, and we have this disguise of just because we give somebody a job and we give them the opportunity to economize themselves doesn't mean that they become a better person. We have to think of things holistically. Not only give them the job, but also make them aware that they have to have self-care. They have to have an approach to really enjoy the fruits of our labor and our life, and make better decisions. Because sometimes just being stuck to your job, that's a disservice to the time you did in incarceration. Like, enjoy the shit out of life.
Yeah.
The fucking clock's gonna run out.
Yeah.
You can't be stuck working a lot. And sometimes I do resist these organizations because they do great work. ARC, Project Rebound, they do amazing, beautiful work. They give us platforms to elevate. But we also have to make sure that we recognize that sometimes when we're hurt and we want to elevate ourselves because we want to be accepted, like let's say Project Rebound or ARC, like, these executive directors, they have this incessant need for acceptance. So they create this beautiful organization, but then they forget about their mission. And they get so entrenched in like, look at me now, I'm on CNN, I'm on this podcast, I'm doing this, me. And then they translate that to their people, and then they drive them to the ground because they want them to work a lot because it's based on passion, right? And I'm sure we get that stuck in that. Like, I work a lot because I'm so passionate, but we have to be able to take that layer and look at the fact that sometimes passion can be damaging, or the ego can be damaging, and it can impact our reentry spaces negatively.
100%.
Because they work a lot, and it's hidden under this premise that it's a good thing, right? Because a job is a good thing, right? Even like PV jobs, you're giving somebody an opportunity to have an income, and especially in the unions, a really good income, a livable wage that you can really make a difference in life. And
Now that, but now I guess now because I know we have something at 1:30, but for the sake of as far as like we're on the topic of work, right? I want to talk about your success now, because now you've been able to transition from something crazy. Now, instead of using your mind and your knowledge and you're smart, you're a genius, right? You're a genius yourself. You transfer that from the bad side of it to the good. Now you're utilizing that to be able to help others out, help yourself out, help your family out, legally in the right ways, man. Not the way you used to do it back in the day. Talk to us about what you're doing now. And then kind of what are your ultimate goals too?
yeah, so what I'm doing now was by accident. So I for me, like being a veteran, one of the things that the veteran identity did is allowed me to remove the traditional 43,000 barriers that a person that is incarcerated has, right? When I came out of custody, I came out to a disability compensation because of my tuberculosis. It gave me an income, and it gave me an avenue to education, right? Going to school for me was a paycheck. I didn't realize that was going to be a blessing in disguise, because being introduced to education at Cal State Fullerton and through the Veterans Resource Center and through Project Rebound, I was able to see the embodiment of hope and how education can really change people's lives. Through Project Rebound and having an income, I really reached into working in the social work space as a case manager. That's when I really discovered that my story can help people. Because I worked for like Volunteers of America, which commoditized the clients because it was based on grants. But what I realized was that a few of us were formerly incarcerated there. We could really make a difference by being the example of what hope looks like for people. The same way that Project Rebound was for me, like seeing the homie Mir, like when I went there, he's in a master's program. I was like, oh shit, I can get a master's. Like that's a reality. I started learning working in social work that my story could impact people at the lowest level, right?
Yeah.
Homie coming just in, like I worked in ODR, the Office of Diversion and Reentry. So we literally would get guys that are coming out of custody, really like in the middle of their addiction and into housing, right? It was a huge pipeline. But I realized in those experiences, when I brought the humanity into it, my clients had higher success. When I brought my own testimony, because you had traditional case managers who never were like in prison, never fucking were in drugs, they're just doing a job, right? But they always struggled with really connecting to their clients. And I took that, I ran with that. I was like, you know what, there's power in connection. And I realized that I really wanted to make a difference for my community, and I started doing public policy and focused on supporting my identities with education to make a really big difference. And how I did that was that I pursued a master's in social work at Cal State Long Beach, which exposed me to a veterans world where I could really make a difference and use my story to make an impact for incarcerated veterans. Veterans are just like anybody who come from a community who want to seek something better or want to seek something in belonging. But a lot of times what happens in those systems is when they're seeking love and belonging and they go in the military just because of the tyranny of war, you have scars that traumatize you and make you worse than when you started. But we don't see that because we disassociate, right? We become these individuals who want to be a part of like the prideful military and the community, but we get broken. War fucks you up. And I realized that through my testimony, being in prison and acknowledging that the military was a contributing factor to my incarceration, but we don't talk about it in the veteran spaces, that somebody needs to talk about it. And by sheer luck in my master's program, I met the Veterans Peer Access Network. And that's the work that I'm doing now, which is the Veterans Peer Access Network is utilizing the peer model, the story model, the testimony model, to use my story to use my tragedies and my struggles and my difficulties, convert them into positive aspects and empower you that even though I went through all this crazy shit, a fucked up dad, prison, drugs, all this crazy shit, I still made it. I still made a difference in my life. And then from the Veterans Peer Access Network, I got, my internship was with the Director of Veterans Affairs, Jim Zenner. And this dude didn't see me as an incarcerated person. He saw me as Manny, a sailor, Manny's a veteran, Manny's a social worker. That's where real change started happening and real difference started happening is that I was like, holy fuck, like this is a Director of Veterans Affairs, the largest county veterans department in the county, and sees me as a human being. And I just landed like God just aligned the stars. I came to the Department of Veterans Affairs here in LA County at the same time that they were doing policy for veterans, really expanding the Penal Code 1170.9 and really making sure that the incarcerated voice is heard in policy for veterans in LA County. I was allowed through my internship to write, to contribute some writing to a motion that allowed for the creation of a consultant to really assess veterans treatment courts here in Los Angeles County. Veterans actually have a unique treatment court, which means that if you get incarcerated, this penal code will take you to a veterans treatment court, and then you can go to treatment over incarceration and improve your life. But that system's been failing for 10 years. It's been here in LA since 2010, and nobody knows that veterans treatment courts exist. The VJOs from the VA don't even know what laws are eligible and not eligible. It's a really big mess here in LA County. But my director said, you know what? Let's bring the voice of those that are impacted by the system to the table. So he created the Lived Advisory Committee, which is a committee that's made up of 5 individuals who've been incarcerated, who are veterans, and a lot. I was able to choose who came on this board. So I specifically chose individuals that had a lot of education, because lived experience only takes you a certain way, right? Just because you know how to eat doesn't make you a chef. But you have the ability to understand food and then become a really good cook, right? My experiences.
I like that breakdown right there.
Huh?
Yeah, that's a pretty fire breakdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the same thing with me. Like, I understand that my incarceration healed me, but it also came out of my fucked up experiences in the military and just the negative childhood that I had. But my master's in social work allowed me to see the power of vulnerability and to open myself up and to see, like, you know what, I got to take that deep dive. It's going to fucking hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But it allowed me to really see how I can systematically approach my healing. I opened myself up to therapy. I opened up myself to really changing myself as a person. And now I get to do that from the Lived Advisory Committee experience. So I'm in the room with the people making the decisions.
That's fire.
I'm the people that they're
fire.
looking at.
Yeah.
And asking for my opinion. And when I have that education, I'm able to articulate it a little bit better. Instead of saying, oh, the system fucked me up, I can say something like, I understand that I come from a background that diverted me from traditional success in society to taking me to incarceration. But I understand that there's a systemic issue where there was a system failure that didn't give me the skill sets to really become a productive member out of prison. I mean, out of the military. Now I'm using those whole identities to support the incarcerated population. Because when I walk into a legislator's room, I walk in as Manny, the chair of the Lived Advisory Committee, Manny, the veteran. But I walk out as Manny, the incarcerated social worker. I'm able to use those identities for good and have a farther reach. And you've, I don't know if you've seen some of my social media, but like I spent like a day at LAPD's headquarters mental health unit with my homie James DeBago, who did 28 years in prison, who was a righteous Aryan Brotherhood member. And I have a picture that I literally framed because it's so powerful. One of the detectives of the mental health unit worked for the Bureau of Prisons. And while he was at the Bureau of Prisons, it was his job to transport members of the brand, the Aryan Brotherhood, transport them from federal prison to court because they were going through an indictment. And James, who's a graduate student at USC, was a part of this whole indictment, was a lieutenant and an enforcer in the Aryan Brotherhood, is now free on the 6th floor of LAPD having a conversation about the healing process of incarceration and how we can teach police officers better practices in their response times. Like, when would you think that this fucking dynamic would happen? And this internship in Director Center and my education has put me in the space to make a really big difference for our community. Mm-hmm. And I translate that out to the VA. I was able to use all these experiences to get me into a federal job at the VA where I'm a certified peer specialist. That's my primary job. And I get to work with veterans and show them my story and tell them my experiences and how the VA really helped me have a good quality of life, how it's paying for my education, how it's helping me pursue my doctoral degree, which I'll start in September.
So that's in stone already, huh? You're going to start. You're done with your master's.
My master's I'll finish in May, and I'll start a doctorate in September.
What do you have left? Or a master's? You have
a master's in social work. So I'll finish a master's in social work, and then I will start my doctorate in September. So I have a little 4-month break.
Which is done and over. You got accepted already. That's
I got accepted. I actually have the box in my car because it was a really cool experience. Like, I didn't even realize I got into this doctorate. I was fucking so sad because, like, I got waitlisted for one program and then I got accepted to a program in Boston, and didn't really work out. And then I kind of got accepted to UCLA's program, but it just didn't work out because they wanted me to apply, but I just can't. I have a family. I have to work. So I can't go to a program that requires full-time commitment because I have to support my family.
Right.
But I was like, damn, man, I didn't really get to a program in California. And I get this fucking box in the mail. And you open it, I'll show it to you guys. It's funny. I open it, and it says, you're accepted. Welcome to Cal Baptist Doctorate of Social Work program. Their acceptance email was in my junk inbox.
Oh, damn.
so I was all fucking in my feelings, all feeling all fucked up, and and it's the one school that didn't make it hard for me with the record. Because there's a school in Texas that I really wanted to go to with the PhD, and they're like, you need to tell us why you went to prison, tell us how you rehabilitated yourself. Cal Baptist, a top 50 school, they didn't even ask for letters of recommendation. My interview was, who are you? Why do you want to do this? Typically, people with DSWs, you have to be a practicing social worker for like 4 or 5 years. It's very rare that DSWs accept new grads because they want you to have experience. But luckily, I've had experience. And I was like, the universe put me in Riverside because next Thursday, I'm receiving a congressional certificate from a congressman in Riverside for some work we're doing at Norco State Prison, supporting veterans, bringing claims officers to support veterans in prison and help them with their benefits and their appeals, which has never really
That's
happened.
huge. Yeah.
Right? So like all these experiences, like how am I now at the Cal Baptist, and as a part of that program, you have to do a social impact program. So I get to be in a school in the county of Riverside where I'm doing some work in the prison, which was last week. I got a full tour of the prison by the captain. The number 3 on the prison yard, the number 3 administrator, gave me a full tour of the prison, and I'm going through all the dorms, and he's joking and saying, "When did you think that your captain would be giving an ex-inmate, a tour of the facility?"
Yeah, it's nuts. Dude.
So like that's what I'm doing now. The work that I'm doing is really focused on veterans, but I'm using the veteran identity to pivot to the incarcerated model because they're very similar, right?
Yeah,
They're very, very similar. When you get out of prison, you were in a traumatic experience and you got out to society. When you were in the military, you were in war and you get out. The difference is the military gives you the GI Bill, gives you the Veterans Resource Centers, which is very similar to Project Rebounds. Who's been doing reentry for years? The military. Since the 50s, since World War I, World War II. The first gate money that we get in the when we get our prison, our gate money, that was the GI Bill when they got out of World War I and World War II. And that whole generation elevated themselves. Imagine if we can use those models in the prison space. And we're starting to do it. I'm very happy that this month we're doing something called sequential intercept mapping. We're bringing theoretical frameworks to reentry. Something called the sequential intercept model, which looks at points where you can divert people from incarceration, from arrest to reentry. You guys are at Intercept 5. I'll send you the I don't know if I'll send you the flyer. I don't know.
Damn, what the fuck?
That's new. I didn't read. I didn't read
what?
that one out.
Yeah, so
It's crazy.
yeah, so there's this disconnect of like
We were focused on broken windows theory.
yeah, exactly, right? So but that's the difference when you elevate lived experience with education. Right? Because now we're looking at theoretical frameworks. Theoretical frameworks give you the key point indicators and the data points that you need to put in the data that goes into your grants. So that's the difference, right? That's where your lived experience takes you this far, but when you couple it with education, it takes you this far. Yeah, man. So like I'm shifting, and it's funny, and I'll end with this. This week has been really fucked up for me because I saw that movie Spaceman, right? And it's about a guy's journey who's seeking glory externally by being the first guy who goes and does this extraordinary thing in space. But yet, as he's going through this journey, this weird alien spider helps him realize that it's not about chasing the glory. It's about being home with your family who's pregnant and is about to have your child. And he has this beautiful monologue that I recommend people to look at, especially for us that are coming out of prison. I was so focused on the glory of getting the degrees and getting the positions and getting the awards and getting the titles that I repeated the cycle of my dad leaving me alone. I became addicted to school. I became addicted to the dollar. And now I'm realizing that all of that doesn't matter. My kids' crazy expensive shoe collection, my daughter's makeup collection, none of that matters. All they want is their dad to be home. So I'm shifting and reducing a lot of my commitments to really focus on being a dad. And I've been doing that the last year. But now I'm really realizing that what matters is family. What really matters is making really selected change. Like this is selected change, right? Telling my story and telling people that like, yeah, I came from a fucked up background. I made it, and I had all this money. I had all this nice car. I had everything, and I still felt empty. But why did I feel empty? Because where it mattered was in my home with the woman that stood by me for 18 fucking years, who had every reason to fucking leave me. Because we all know having an addiction problem comes with collateral consequences in a marriage and very deviant and illicit behavior. I wasn't a good husband, and she's still there. She's still there.
She loves you, my man.
And I haven't done my job to give her half the love she's given me. And I'm probably one of the last things I'll do as in the outside world. And this is my like goodbye to the world. And I'm not saying goodbye to my movement. I'm just shifting that my job is to be a positive example for my 5 children. Yeah, we'll still connect and we'll still elevate and I'll still do my doctoral thing. But now it's funny, this DSW is called a social impact program. I want to really impact my own little social ecosystem. So it's just crazy. And yesterday we went to a funeral, and watching that movie and this funeral, very quiet guy who didn't know a lot of people, and he was an undocumented immigrant, passed away really young at the age of 50. I didn't realize the impact that he made. The funeral home was packed.
Damn.
Packed. Like they didn't have enough food and enough chairs.
Was
Damn.
he famous?
Huh?
Was he famous back in
No,
his day?
he was
You
an
said you didn't have much,
insignificant individual who was very quiet, undocumented, worked at the swap meets.
There you go, though. Those interactions were...
But he made such an impact to those
esteemed.
people that
Yeah.
people talk so beautiful of him. Like my wife's best friend was like, we got the small room on purpose because we didn't think nobody was going to show up. And imagine if an insignificant individual, and he's not insignificant, like I don't want to say that he's insignificant, but an individual who lived a quiet life was able to make such an impact, like without even trying.
Right.
And that's what matters, right?
That's
It's like when
facts,
you go,
bro.
like, people don't give a shit about your awards. They care about what you did in humanity.
You're right. I mean, there's even somebody to this day that I even know where it's like they're getting this glory, but it's like, you know, it's great for you, proud of you, but at the end of the day, the person you are, like the kind of person you are, is like maybe, you know, it sounds fucked up, but you're not worth the time.
Yeah.
You're not worth the time. And so I'm like, it does make you realize, like, when you really do start building these relationships and having an impact on people and stuff like that, and you care more about, you know, just be able to share valid happiness and, you know, and also look out for people.
Yeah.
And you're more of a people's person, it will go a farther way, like way farther than just a nice little award.
Omar Perez, I am so fucking proud of you. Because we was a guy I met at La Cata. We were both Sense Navigators, and he came under my wing. I created this workforce program, and he was one of my people that came to this workforce program. He was one of the few that listened, and he did this thing called the Crop Fellowship. I'm sure you guys know about Crop, but he just finished their like IT retraining sales program. And last night on LinkedIn, he posted a video of him doing like his like graduation capstone, and he's like, my name's Omar, but he was so polished, and he did such a good job that my wife couldn't believe it was him on camera. And I called him like at 10 o'clock, and I was like, damn, homie, that's the fucking rewards that I'm looking for, where nobody knew that we were here in my office, like trying to figure out your like assignments and trying to figure out like how to succeed in this program, you know. And he's open about it, right? That's the best like payment, like seeing him fully polished in a suit doing this like professional commercial that you think he's been doing it for years. Like those are the wins, and that's where I know I make impacts now. Where like you don't have to. I purposely still a little bit ego put shit on my Instagram as a fuck you to the haters, because there's people that really fucking hurt me. Those closest to me really fucked me over. But I understood that they were still in their own trauma, and I'm not mad at them. But we have to do better in our movement. We're hurt, we're seeking acceptance, and just because we're in positions of power, we have to be aware and be vulnerable that it's not a me show, it's an us show.
That part, man. I really do feel like this podcast is geared more to like the adults. I feel like, you know, what you laughing at? I'm just saying.
No,
like,
I get what you're saying. It's a high level, just like we're dissecting kind of that system, bro. and just kind of how you get to where we're at now. You know, that whole journey, that 1, 2, 3, beginning, middle, end. It's just a dissection of it. You know what I'm saying? You're good at explaining just kind of the thought process and the thinking behind all this stuff.
A lot of pain, man.
Yeah.
A lot of fucking pain.
We really do respect the fact that you're able to share your story with us. I think low-key, even you've impacted me too. I think you've taught me some stuff too right now today.
That shirt,
on
man.
this podcast. I know, man, it's crazy, but even then, like just like the eye-opening conversations, the fact that you've been able to really tap into yourself and build your emotional intelligence as well is pretty great. Is fantastic. And I think, and I applaud you for that, because that's one of the hardest things. Like, you can do all this stuff, but to really identify your own feelings, your own thoughts, your own mistakes, your own everything is probably one of the biggest, hardest things to do.
Yeah.
And so with that, man, we really do appreciate you being here and sharing your story with us. We really do. And if you have any last words you want to mention to the audience, like, go ahead. You know, any last words if you have anything to say.
Hey, go Long Beach.
There
And
you
we
go.
gotta end with
Go Beach.
Necesitas
Beach.
Terapia, man. That shirt
There you
is
go.
cool, man.
There you go, man.
There we
Shout out
go,
to the
baby.
homie
That's
at that soiree.
Yeah, shout out to him. Reentry Network Podcast. We out. Let's get it.